Chapter 604. The black-robed girl was also suspicious of the identity of Dongbo Shuiying, because she did not know him. But from the side, she understood that the reason why she and Qiubai could be revived from the river of time was because of this Dongbo Shuiying. Feeling Qiubai hugging her, the black-robed girl revealed a faint smile. Her heart was filled with sweetness. This was also what she had been longing for. Old white ghost, send them off. The deal is over, and I'll be leaving too. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction said. This time, I have to thank Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Dongbo Shuiying immediately expressed his gratitude. Without Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, Dongbo Shuiying did not dare to trust White Sovereign King. Ha! Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction laughed. He glanced at White Sovereign King, then turned and disappeared into the time-space tunnel. White Sovereign King glanced at Dongbo Shuiying and was too lazy to speak. He also knew that his reputation wasn't too good. Let's go. White Sovereign King shouted. Let's go. Dongbo Shuiying waved his hand, keeping Qiubai and his wife into his Eden treasure. Then he followed White Sovereign King into the time-space tunnel to return. With White Sovereign King escorting them, the return journey was naturally much safer. Actually, with Dongbo Shuiying's current strength, as long as it wasn't a paragon, there was nothing that could threaten him. Even if it was that Patrol Devil King, Dongbo Shuiying reckoned that he would only be able to suppress him. Hoo-hoo. Finally, they passed through the outermost layer of the dark abyss, passing through the blurry darkness. Following the time-space tunnel, Dongbo Shuiying felt that the will of the dark abyss, which represented destruction, darkness, and slaughter, had finally retreated. When they walked out of the time-space tunnel, they were already in the void. It was the territory of the deity world. Dongbo Shuiying. White Sovereign King walked out of the time-space tunnel and stood in the void. The corner of his lips curled upwards. This time, you were able to bring away the original copy of the Blood Demon scripture from my territory. However, don't be too complacent. You should focus on cultivating and be able to transcend the river of time as soon as possible. If he can't transcend, he'll only have a lifespan of 10 billion years. It would be a disgrace to me if a pitiful fellow who can't transcend took away the original copy of an ultimate technique from me. There's no need for Sovereign King to worry about this. Dongbo Shuiying replied calmly. The commander of the Army of Destruction was a Stage 4 world deity. He had told Dongbo Shuiying many times that the realm was the foundation. Dongbo Shuiying understood this as well. If he did not transcend, everything would be for naught. Sovereign King, let us bid farewell here. Dongbo Shuiying said. White Sovereign King nodded and turned to leave, once again returning to the dark abyss. Meanwhile, a Starfield flying ship appeared in front of Dongbo Shuiying. He stepped onto the Starfield flying ship and began traveling through time. Standing on the deck of the Starfield flying ship were Dongbo Shuiying, Qiubai, and the black-robed woman Wuxia. The two of them had reconstructed their fleshly bodies. To Dongbo Shuiying, reconstructing their fleshly bodies was as easy as lifting his hand. Who would have thought that I, Qiubai, would have such a day? Qiubai stood at the bow of the ship, looking at the colorful time-space tunnel around him. You've actually reconstructed your fleshly bodies and even come to the deity world. Little she is here as well. Qiubai, the black-robed woman, smiled. Dongbo Shuiying was very happy to see this scene. In truth, Eternal Wind had always been living in torment. In the end, he was even tortured by De Hao for many years. Then, he was forced to cultivate the Blood Demon scripture by Howling Devil cult leader. In his previous life, Eternal Wind's life was too sullen. Even his true love, Wuxia, was tortured to death by De Hao. It was a tragedy. Now that he could change everything, Dongbo Shuiying felt happy for Qiubai. Snow Eagle, I will remember this kindness. Qiubai said. However, I'm afraid that with your current strength and status, it will be hard for me to repay you. What are you talking about? Eternal Wind, where do you and your wife intend to go? To the Xia people's world? Or to the deity world? Dongbo Shuiying asked. The Xia people's world also has the Crimson Rock Mountain world. If you want to enter the Crimson Rock Mountain world, it will be easy. Let's go to the Xia people's world. Qiubai looked at his wife. Little she and I have been away from our homeland for far too long. The black-robed woman smiled. All right. Dongbo Shuang nodded. The Starfield flying ship was extremely fast. When they reached their destination, Dongbo Shuang brought them directly into the material plane, the Xia people's world. Oh! In midair in the Xia people's world, the black-robed woman Wuxia stood in midair, looking at the bustling and vast world. Her eyes brightened. Xia people, our homeland, we're back. Qiu Qibai revealed a smile. Then I'll be leaving first. I won't disturb the two of you any longer. Ha ha ha, if there's anything, just send a message to me. Dongbo Shuang laughed before taking a step and disappearing. Only then did Qiu Qibai and Wuxia return to their own world, looking at each other. I have many things I wish to do. Qiu Qibai said. Me too. Wuxia said, Qiubai, follow me. I'll bring you to a place. The two turned into streams of light, flying high up in the sky. Dongbo Shuang brought the true god weapon flying knife with him as he left the Xia people's world. With his current strength and having refined the flying knife, he could naturally bring it with him. The Starfield flying ship arrived at the Bloodshed God Palace. Dongbo Shuang was in a good mood. Other than the earth-shattering change in his combat power, the main reason was that he had helped Eternal Wind. Eternal Wind's innate talent was split into two when he was a transcendent. Even so, he was still able to grasp hold of a grade 2 true meaning. His innate talent is extremely high. It's just that I don't know how far he'll be able to walk after experiencing so many tribulations. Dongbo Shuang was looking forward to it. In the entire history of the Xia people in terms of innate talent other than himself and Jing Qiu, who was a stage 3 world deity reincarnated, Qiu Qibai was the next best. Even if his own children were outstanding, they were still slightly lacking when compared to Qiu Qibai. This was because his children had been nurtured by him and Jing Qiu since they were young, and the cultivation resources they received were many times better than what Qiu Qibai had received in the past. As soon as he landed in the Bloodshed God Palace, Dongbo Shuang rushed towards the Crimson Stone courtyard. Suddenly, a voice transmitted over. Snow Eagle, come over here. A voice resounded by his ears. Teacher. Dongbo Shuang immediately confirmed it and rushed over to where his teacher was. It was the courtyard of a wooden house. Within the wooden house, there was only the crimson-robed blood blade standing there. The black bird was nowhere to be seen. Dongbo Shuang walked in from outside the courtyard. Stepping forward, he respectfully said, Disciple greets teacher. The disturbance you've caused this time is not small. Bloodblade smiled. Fighting 1 against 3, killing one of the powerful existences from the abyss, and even bringing the original copy of the first half of the Blood Demon scripture out of the abyss. Haha, those 3 rulers from the abyss must feel embarrassed. Even though I've been paying attention to this matter, it's not good for me to interfere. The moment I do, those 3 rulers from the abyss will definitely interfere. Disciple understands, Dongbo Shuang replied. The Army of Destruction's ultimate art is truly impressive. You have such strength after reaching the 4th firmament. Praised Bloodblade. Your current strength is already considered top-notch amongst the powerful existences. Your strength is close to that of a supremacy. Dongbo Shuang agreed with this point. The stronger you are, the more responsibilities you have to bear, said Bloodblade with a smile. As the Bloodshed Tavern owner, you are naturally responsible for more areas. Dongbo Shuang immediately received a message. It was a message from the Bloodshed Tavern's internal system, informing him of the changes in the areas he was responsible for. Yes, Dongbo Shuang immediately responded. He could bear this bit of responsibility. With your current strength you should understand some things, said Bloodblade calmly. The path of cultivation is unavoidable. If you don't fight for opportunities, you will fall into the hands of your opponents. Your opponents will become stronger and trample on you. Falling behind once, falling behind twice. If this continues, you will only be left further and further behind. Thus, the path of cultivation must be fought for. You must pay attention to both internal and external resources. This disciple understands. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Because he had obtained the 3 special treasures left behind by that venerable who had been sealed in ice, the Scarlet Bracelet and the other 2 items. The Scarlet Bracelet and the other 2 items all contained the Tao of Spacetime, which allowed him to comprehend the Spacetime deity heart with fewer obstacles. If not for these 3 treasures, it would have been normal for him to spend hundreds of thousands of years to become a stage 4 world deity. It was also because of the true god weapon, the flying knife, that his understanding of the world profound mysteries within the slaughter and mirage had greatly increased, allowing him to master the extreme annihilation mysterious body much faster. His spear secret skill destruction had also greatly increased in power. Otherwise, if his spear technique wasn't strong enough, he might not have been able to escape from the three of them. These were all resources. One's own internal cultivation was important, but external resources could be used as a catalyst. All sorts of battles have divided the deity world and dark abyss into many superpowers. Many powerful existences have chosen to rely on me for the sake of survival. Bloodblade said, however, I can only ensure the safety of their avatars within the Bloodshed God Palace territory. As for fighting and killing outside, I will not participate in the battles between ordinary powerful existences. Pang-E, Destruction, and Bamboo Mountain are all paragons, so it would not be good for them to participate. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. Other than the many independent powerful existences under me, there are also the monarchs of the 5 directions, Bloodblade said. The monarchs of the 5 directions? Dongbua Shuiying felt puzzled. He truly did not know of this. The monarchs of the 5 directions must have combat power close to that of a paragon. I will also do my best to groom them. When fighting outside, the many powerful existences of my Bloodshed God Palace will usually see them as their leaders. Bloodblade said, however, there are currently only 2 monarchs of the 5 directions, Gutsong and Bei, who, Dongbua Shuiying knew of these 2. Monarch Gutsong was his senior disciple brother, and had a combat power close to that of a paragon. Palace Master Bei, who was an extremely ancient powerful existence, and had a combat power close to that of a paragon. The other powerful existences do not have enough combat power, so they naturally do not have the qualifications to take up this role. Bloodblade looked at Dongbua Shuiying. Even though you are only a stage 4 deity, your combat power is sufficient. Thus, I hope that you will become the 3rd monarch of the 5 directions. From today onwards, the group of powerful existences of the Bloodshed God Palace will also be led by the 3 of you to fight against other superpowers. Bloodblade said, the more responsibilities you have, the more you will obtain. This will also be of great help to your cultivation and transcendence. Dongbua Shuiying immediately replied, yes, this disciple understands. End of this chapter. Today was the 1st chapter. Tomorrow, he would begin the 20th chapter. Monarch Dongbua. Chapter 605. Bloodblade chuckled and nodded. He was quite satisfied with this disciple of his, Dongbua Shuiying. Over the long years, he had seen many stage 4 world deities with extremely high innate talent. He had taught quite a few outstanding ones, of which Monarch Guzong and Monarch Green had successfully transcended, but there were very few who could make him satisfied. The majority were too arrogant. Confidence and arrogance were just a single step apart. Any expert should be confident, but many had become arrogant. Arrogance would lead to blindness, and blindness would make it hard for them to walk further. Bloodblade felt that amongst his disciples, the one he was most satisfied with was Monarch Green, and the next would be Dongbua Shuiying. He is so calm and reserved. I believe it shouldn't be hard for him to transcend, and there is hope for him to open his own Tao in the future. Bloodblade thought. Snow Eagle. Bloodblade said, the monarchs of the 5 directions have their own fiefdoms. Fiefdom? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Bloodblade nodded. The cosmos has been reborn ever since the Great Apocalypse, and there are many strange places in the vast deity world that are of great help to cultivation. Within the territory of my Bloodshed God Palace, there are 5 such places, and I have designated them as fiefdoms for the monarchs of the 5 directions. Currently, 2 of them have owners and you can choose the other 3. Dongbua Shuiying listened attentively. Of the 5 places, Corpse Hiding Cave and Ice Origin Star already have owners. The other 3 are Black Fog Sea, Fire God Tree, and Lightning Island. Bloodblade said. Corpse Hiding Cave? Dongbua Shuiying was speechless. This name made him feel uncomfortable. It was one of the 5 fiefdoms, and it had already been chosen? Teacher, is the Corpse Hiding Cave a treasure ground? Dongbua Shuiying could not help but ask. Bloodblade chuckled. The Corpse Hiding Cave looks ordinary on the surface, just a few meters wide. But once you enter, you will find yourself in an Eden world. There are many corpses within this Eden world. It is an ancient battlefield from the second cosmos epoch, and there are 2 ruler corpses within. Don't you think it's a treasure trove? That place is very suitable for your senior brother Gutsong, so he chose it. There are 2 sovereign corpses? Dongbo Shuiying was slightly shocked. However, if he had to choose, he would definitely not choose a place filled with corpses. After all, this was his fief. You can't choose even if you want to. I'll tell you about the other 3 places in detail. Bloodblade said, the Black Fog Sea is a sea of black fog that appears in space. The black fog is formed naturally by the universe, and once you enter it, you will see countless illusions. The deeper you go, the stronger the illusions. Even with my strength, I was barely able to reach the source of the black fog. Those who are weak will probably sink into it and never wake up. Illusion. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. The fire god tree is a huge tree, and its roots are rooted in the void. It is 3,900 billion miles tall, and its entire body is burning with flames that will never extinguish. There are many who want to come here to cultivate. Paragon Huacheng, who is on good terms with you, had once gone there to cultivate. Of course, his master, Primal Master, had to pay a huge price before I allowed him to cultivate for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, I chased him away. Bloodblade chuckled. The last place is the Thunderbolt Island. It is a place similar to the Temporal Island, and is also a void island. The Temporal Island is located in a unique space, and is hard to reach. As for the Thunderbolt Island, it is filled with countless thunderbolts and all sorts of thunderbolts. Choose a place. Bloodblade said. Dongbo Shuiying pondered for a moment. The Black Fog Sea. You chose this place? Bloodblade chuckled. Seems like you value the mysteries of your world the most. Dongbo Shuiying chuckled. Nothing can be hidden from Master. Black Fog Sea. Even Bloodblade could barely reach the source of the Black Fog Sea. Those who were weaker would sink into the illusory world of the Black Fog Sea. This illusory world had 2 aspects. One was illusory, and the other was to outline a world. It was closer to the Mirage world, and in addition to the Tao of Mirage and his true god weapon Flying Knife, Dongbo Shuiying naturally had to study it carefully. The world is good at containing, and is indeed suitable for you to cultivate. If your realm is high enough, you can use the world deity heart to truly contain all the profound mysteries of the laws of the world, forming the complete laws of the world. At that time you will be able to transcend from the river of time. Bloodblade nodded in praise. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. The hardest part of transcending was to integrate all the deity hearts into a complete entity. As for comprehending all the deity hearts, to some stage 4 world deities it was extremely difficult as they had absorbed faith energy. However, Dongbo Shuiying had never relied on faith stones. He had only cultivated for a short period of time, and thus had very little karma. Comprehending the karma deity heart was also an easy matter. He had long comprehended the extremely difficult substance deity heart, and he believed that it wouldn't take long for him to comprehend the boundless deity heart as well. With the world deity heart, he would be able to perfectly integrate them into a single entity, forming the laws of the world. That would be a great success. Regarding transcending, you have to pay attention to a few things. Firstly, you have to pay more attention to the complete laws of the world. You can't crazily ponder over some secret skill for the sake of power. You have to constantly pursue the power of your secret skill. Bloodblade reminded him. I can't pursue power too much? Dongbo Shuiying was puzzled. Take a look at Bamboo Mountain's example and you will know. The moment Bloodblade finished speaking, he immediately transmitted a large amount of information to his disciple. Dongbo Shuiying immediately sensed that his communication treasure had received a large amount of information. It was a large amount of detailed information regarding the deity world and the dark abyss. The information was even more detailed than what Paragon Huacheng had given him. Within it, there was a detailed introduction of Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master regarding his cultivation. So that's how it is. That's why he hasn't transcended? Dongbo Shuiying was shocked, but at the same time, he came to a realization. Do you understand now? Bloodblade said. This disciple understands. However, I am still far from reaching this step. Dongbo Shuiying said. Your current accumulations aren't deep enough, so you don't have to worry too much about this. Bloodblade said. Furthermore, the number of Stage 4 world deities who could reach this step can be counted with one's fingers in the many Cosmos epochs. In our Cosmos epoch, only Bamboo Mountain has done it. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. Also, if you have any karma entangling you, resolve it as soon as possible. Bloodblade reminded. Some karma can affect one's cultivation. Yes, Dongbua Shuiying said. His own karma wasn't much. What was more important was the karma with his family and friends. These karma were all goodwill, and wouldn't affect one's cultivation. Even if the karma with Chihua Laozu was heavier. Chihua Laozu had saved Jingqiu in the past. However, Chihua Laozu was also a friend. He didn't intentionally request anything from Dongbua Shuiying, so it wouldn't affect him much. What did affect him was the enmity with Old Ancestor Black Devil. Old Ancestor Black Devil was the murderer who killed Sacred Master Crimson Dust. Since he was Sacred Master Crimson Dust's personal disciple, there would naturally be enmity between them. However, Sacred Master Crimson Dust didn't request his disciple to take revenge before transcending. Thus, this karma wouldn't affect him much. To you, the most important thing to take note of before transcending are these 2 points. Bloodblade smiled. With a flip of his hand, he tossed a triangular talisman to Dongbua Shuiying. This is the key to the Black Fog Seas array. Because it's too dangerous, I've already set up an array. Outsiders won't be able to enter. Dongbua Shuiying immediately caught it. Master, you've mentioned the Cosmos epoch many times before. Dongbua Shuiying hurriedly said. You even mentioned that the corpse cave was left behind by the second Cosmos epoch. Which Cosmos epoch is our current epoch considered? And the owner of Lake Heart Island. Chapter 606. Flowers and plants will wither. The world will be born and destroyed. And the universe will rise and fall. The period from the birth of life to the great apocalypse can be considered as an epoch. Bloodblade looked at Dongbua Shuiying. Just like how the mortal world in the material plane can only last for a short period of time, the length of every epoch is different. If we have too many life forms, the burden on the universe will be too great, or if we destroy too much, this epoch will be shorter, and we will enter the great apocalypse faster. Dongbua Shuiying listened carefully. Strictly speaking, this epoch of ours is the 8th epoch. Bloodblade sighed. It can be considered an ordinary epoch. According to the number of experts that were born, the most dazzling epoch was the 3rd epoch. The 3rd epoch gave birth to the 2 most impressive existences. One was the owner of Lake Heart Island, and the other was the Devil Ancestor. The 8th epoch? Dongbua Shuiying nodded slightly. That's all in the past. Now we can only find traces of them in some ruins. Bloodblade said, Alright, the most important thing for you to do now is to focus on cultivation and transcend as soon as possible. With your talent, if you are fast enough, you should be able to transcend in 1,000,000 years. Dongbua Shuiying instantly felt that his master had high hopes for him. Transcend in 1,000,000 years? Disciple will do his best. Dongbua Shuiying said. Haha. Bloodblade didn't think too much about it. Instead, he changed the topic. I originally wanted to choose a suitable treasure for you after exploring the ancient cave dwelling. But your strength improved faster than I expected. Now, you're already close to the Paragon realm. You're not suited to chase after strength now. You should grasp the laws of heaven and earth as soon as possible. I really don't have any treasures to give you at the moment. Leave this treasure with me for now. When you transcend, I will give it to you. This will greatly increase your chances of opening your Tao. Bloodblade smiled. Disciple is not in a hurry. The stronger disciple is, the better the treasures master will give me. Dongbua Shuiying smiled. Alright. Bloodshed God Emperor laughed. Go. Go busy yourself with your matters. This disciple will take his leave. Dongbua Shuiying bowed and retreated. Bloodblade smiled and nodded as he watched Dongbua Shuiying leave. In the long years of cultivation, his loved ones would gradually pass away. Instead, the master and disciple would accompany each other for a longer time. To Bloodblade and the others, the relationship between master and disciple would gradually become the most important emotion in their hearts. Of course, those heartless people were another matter. Swoosh. After leaving his master's place, Dongbua Shuiying flew towards the Crimson Stone courtyard. Flying high up in the sky, they could not travel through space here, so they could only fly slowly. While flying, Dongbu Shuiying was carefully reading through the large amount of information given to him by his master. With the identity of the Bloodblade, the information he provided was much more detailed, allowing Dongbu Shuiying to have a more detailed understanding of the entire universe. So this is the reason why Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master couldn't transcend. No wonder the general of the Army of Destruction regretted it so much, Dongbu Shuiying thought. Normal cultivation. He should be able to comprehend the deity hearts one by one after reaching the 4th level of heaven. In the end, after accumulating enough knowledge, he instantly comprehended all the profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth into a complete whole, the laws of heaven and earth. From then on, he became a true god. After becoming a true god, they researched secret skills or created their own secret arts, constantly researching the profound mysteries of the laws. Finally, one day they comprehended a Tao that was above the laws of the world. After opening up one's own Tao, one would become a venerable. The Tao he had established was still very immature and needed to be constantly perfected. Once this Tao reached a truly eternal level, he would be a sovereign. For example, Bloodblade had opened up the Bloodblade path, Shadow path, and Destruction path. The Temporal Island Lord had opened the Tao of space-time. For example, the space-time Tao. In order to establish this Tao, one had to have a deeper understanding of the space-time laws and profundities. By combining them, one would have to comprehend even more profound space-time laws and profundities to form the space-time Tao. Therefore, in order to open the Tao of space-time, one did not need to understand the splitting heaven deity heart, karma deity heart, etc. There was no need to understand the laws of the world. Therefore, in theory, a stage 4 world deity could open their own Tao if their realm was deep enough. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was a stage 4 world deity who had yet to grasp the complete laws of the world when he first opened the Destruction Lightning Tao. From then on, he had the power of a paragon. However, he did not transcend. According to the records, Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself, in our current cosmos epoch, only Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was able to open his Tao at stage 4. According to the information provided by Master, the number of stage 4 world deities who could do this can be counted with one's fingers. That was indeed the case. Those powerful existences had cultivated for a long period of time, but there were very few who could reach the paragon level. And those who could open their own Tao were even rarer. Clearly, opening one's own Tao was much harder than grasping the complete laws of the world. Under normal circumstances, a stage 4 world deity would not open his Tao. But if such a genius were to appear, it would instead be troublesome. Dongbu Shuiying sighed. Wanting to transcend would be even harder. What was transcendence? Transcendence was to transcend the river of time and ascend the riverbank. Only with the help of the complete laws of the world could one break free from the restrictions of the river of time. But the strength of life forms in the river of time was different. Mortals were weak, transcendents were weak, and deities and world deities were getting stronger. For instance, Dongbu Shuiying's body was extremely huge within the river of time, much bigger than an ordinary stage 4 world deity. The bigger the body, the stronger the restrictions of the river of time. Therefore, even if one were to revive, the bigger the body, the harder it would be to revive. After all, it was too heavy and impossible to fish out. As for Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, as a stage 4 world deity who had opened his own Tao, his body was 100 times bigger than Dongbu Shuiying's. With such a huge body, even if he grasped the complete laws of the world, he would not be able to break free from the restrictions of the river of time. He had to obtain even stronger laws of the world, and he could only become a ruler. Once he became a ruler, the Tao he opened would also be perfect and eternal. Only with this Tao could he transcend. For a stage 4 world deity to open a Tao, he can only transcend after becoming a ruler. Dongbu Shuiying shook his head. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and the commander of the Army of Destruction are truly pitiful. No wonder they say that one cannot be too obsessed with power and pursue secret skills. Ordinary cultivators do not have such problems. I can be considered to be quite talented, and I have always been pursuing the power of my secret skills. Who knows, one day I might have a stroke of luck and open my own Tao. That would also be troublesome. Dongbu Shuiying grinned. He knew that the chances of this happening were extremely low. After all, there were only a handful of such people across the many epochs. Even if he deliberately pursued power, he might not be able to do so. Otherwise, Nine-Yong Palace Head, Purple-Gowned Hex Emperor, Patrol Devil King, and the others would not have been unable to become paragons after so many years. Some ordinary world deities thought that Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master relied on an absolute art to become so heaven-defying. Dongbo Shuang shook his head, but now it seems like it was a huge joke. Actually, he had long suspected this. Why was Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master so dazzling? Was his absolute art so special? Could it be that the absolute arts of Bloodblade and the other rulers were inferior to Bamboo Mountain Prefecture? Now that he was stronger, Dongbo Shuang finally understood the secret behind it. Chapter 607. Other than the information about the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master being unable to transcend, there were two other pieces of information that caught Dongbo Shuang's attention. One of them was that, according to his master, there was another power hidden in the vast universe besides the 5 sovereigns of the God world and the 3 sovereigns of the abyss. This power was extremely mysterious, and the number of experts they had was extremely small. Very few people knew of their existence, and some venerables probably didn't even know of their existence. This faction had a unique characteristic. Their members had no karmic ties. No karmic lines? Dongbo Shuang was a little shocked. It was common to use karmic connections to investigate someone. Even his master, the Bloodblade, had karmic connections. For example, he and his master were connected by karma. There was actually an expert who didn't have a karmic line. According to the reports, this was an extremely well-hidden secret of the entire universe, and only the Juggernauts knew about it. Some hegemons didn't even tell their subordinates. Of course, Bloodblade still told the disciples and friends he valued. This matter is extremely special and cannot be leaked. If you discover an enemy without a karmic link, inform me immediately. Bloodblade also emphasized this in the report. I didn't expect this. Dongbo Shuang sighed. To think that there would be such a mysterious force hidden in the universe. But the chances of me running into them should be very low. Put it aside for now. Dongbo Shuang paid attention to the last interesting piece of information. Primal Master is really bored. Dongbo Shuang revealed a smile. His master had actually given him a copy of the Cosmos Deity Demon List. The Cosmos Deity Demon List was a list created by the most aloof and ancient ruler, the Primal Master, out of boredom. He gathered information from all over the universe and created this list. The list contained the 100 strongest cultivators in the entire cosmos. He gave them a ranking. Every time the Primal Master decided on a ranking, he would only give it to the experts on the list. The record on this list was Cosmos Deity Demon List, Rank 1 Bloodblade 2nd, Abyss Progenitor 3rd, Primeval Master 4th, Purgatory Ruler 5th, Temporal Island Lord 6th, Pantheon Temple Master 7th, Empress Qianhe number 8, Pangyi number 9, Bloody Dominator 10th place, Monarch Qing 11, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction number 99, Forefather Fierce Tyrant no. 100. Star Falling Monarch. The leaderboard was purely a ranking without any explanation. Pangyi is actually ranked 8th? One rank higher than the Bloody Dominator? Dongbo Shuang was speechless when he saw the Cosmos Deity Demon List. He had never heard of Pangyi becoming a ruler, but Pangyi was ranked 8th. In the entire God Realm and Abyss, Monarch Green, who was recognized as the closest to a ruler, was ranked 10th. But my ranking isn't there. Dongbo Shuang mumbled inwardly. In terms of strength, he was definitely stronger than Forefather Fierce Tyrant and some other almighty existences. I have just broken through this time. And that's why I revealed my true strength. I should have to wait until the next ranking list is released before I can be listed on it. Asterisk 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 Crimson Stone Courtyard. Father. As soon as Dongbo Shuang appeared in the cave abode, his daughter, Dongbo Qingyao, immediately rushed over to greet him. Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu and Monarch Mo Shui appeared as well. Father, I heard that you fought against 3 almighty existences by yourself and even killed one? Dongbo Qingyao's eyes lit up. She looked forward to such a scene. Dongbo Shuang looked at his daughter and chuckled. I only killed an avatar. It is common for almighty existences to die in a battle, but most of them are just avatars. It is rare for both true body and avatar to be destroyed. Good son-in-law, the scene of dark abyss surrounding you was huge. So many abyss sovereigns made a move, and even Patrol Devil King and Emperor Chi-Hai made a move. And there was even the legendary White Sovereign King behind them. It is already amazing that you could come back alive. Many of my old friends said that the chances of His Highness Dongbua coming out alive is very low. It's a pity that they guessed wrongly. Monarch Imo Shui praised. Dongbua Shuang chuckled and said, "Oh right, Master allowed me to become one of the 5 monarchs, and even gave me a conferred land. Let us prepare to set off." 5 monarchs? Monarch Imo Shui, Jingqiu, Dongbua, and Qingyao were all puzzled. It is only an official position, a rather special one. Dongbua Shuang said, "Even though it is said to be one of the 5 monarchs, in reality, there are only 2 of them. They are Palace Master Bei Hu and my senior apprentice brother Gu Zong." Palace Master Bei Hu and Monarch Gu Zong? Even amongst the almighty existences, they are incredible existences. Monarch Imo Shui immediately understood that these 5 monarchs were incredible. There is a conferred land? Jingqiu was also puzzled. And in Black Fog Sea. Dongbua Shuang said, "Of course I have to go and rebuild it." "Oh right, where is Yuer?" Yuer has been stuck at a bottleneck, unable to break through, and is wandering outside. I have already sent a message to Yuer, telling him to come back as soon as possible. However, he said that he still needs to delay for a few more days, and should be back in half a month. Jingqiu said, "How about this, let him go directly to Black Fog Sea." Dongbua Shuang said, "We will not wait for him." On the same day, Dongbua Shuang brought his wife and a group of people to board the Starfield flying ship, heading towards Black Fog Sea. That is Black Fog Sea? Dongbua and Qingyao's eyes were very bright, looking excitedly at the vast black fog in the starry sky. "I heard that there is a huge array enveloping this place, making it impossible to get close," Monarch Imo Shui said. Dongbua Shuang said, "You guys wait here." South. He directly tore through the sky and left alone. Jingqiu, Monarch Imo Shui, Dongbua, and Qingyao all stood on the deck of the flying ship, watching the scene from afar. They only saw Dongbua Shuang easily passing through the array, arriving at the edge of Black Fog Sea. "Let's begin." Dongbua Shuang looked at the endless rolling black fog by his side. This would be his territory, and if he became a powerful existence, he would most likely stay here for a long time. Powerful existences would all have their own territories, and even the Bloodshed God Emperor had his own place, the Bloodshed God Palace. After all, he was most familiar with the place he built. After all, it could be continuously strengthened over the long years. Hong Long Long. Dongbua Shuang directly activated the world energy. With his current attainments in the aspect of the world, he could control the world energy within a range of 3 trillion kilometers. The world energy could transform into the myriad existences. The prerequisite was to understand the structure of matter. Condense. Following Dongbua Shuang's thought, one could see the endless land within 3 trillion kilometers being formed. The land was thick, and the deeper one went, the denser it became. All sorts of rocks, metals, and even more unique precious materials were formed. Naturally, these precious materials were only valued by transcendents or ordinary deities. After all, the precious materials that could be dissected by Dongbua Shuang were all relatively ordinary. By transforming the world energy, he could have as many as he wanted. A huge piece of land began to appear, surrounding the Black Fog Sea. The Black Fog Sea occupied roughly half of the land. On the land there were rivers surging. Vegetation grew, and the mountains rose and fell. The scenery was beautiful. At the very center of the continent was a vast chain of palaces. Some were for guests, some were for guards, some were for disciples, some were for animals from the immortal world, and some were for juniors and disciples to cultivate, go on adventures, train, and so on. There were also places for him to enter closed-door cultivation, places for him to research secret techniques, and places to receive guests. Even so, Dongbua Shuang's palaces were relatively ordinary when compared to the territories of other powerful existences. After all, he was too young, and the number of people following him was relatively few. Thus, the number of palaces he needed was relatively few. There are also arrays. Although Dongbua Shuiying was not that formidable in the field of arrays, he had researched the spacetime array within the Scarlet Wristband, as well as the Tao within the True God Weapon Flying Knife. There were also all sorts of arrays for cultivating absolute arts. Naturally, this allowed Dongbua Shuiying to reach a relatively high level of attainment in the field of arrays. He also began to set up a large number of arrays wantonly. The Mirage Array, Spacetime Array, and Material Array were especially common. The Material Array mainly borrowed some of the profound mysteries of the Extreme Annihilation mysterious body. Although it was far from being as sturdy as his black armor, only Stage 4 world deities would be able to shake it. The Spacetime Array also caused the space in many places to change. The Mirage Array borrowed some of the profound mysteries of the Tao of Mirage. It was even more mysterious and unfathomable. Even Stage 4 world deities could get lost in it. Although it seemed fast, in reality, Dongbua Shuiying had spent more than 3 days before he finally completed the construction of his territory. Only after it was done did he inform all his subordinates in the East Region City Supervisor Envoy residence to come over. Now that he had become a monarch of the 5 directions, he naturally would no longer hold the position of Supervisor Envoy. This shall be our home from now on. Dongbua Shuiying, his wife Jingqiu, his daughter Qingyao, and monarch Mo Shui were walking together on the spacious plaza, looking at the distant chain of palaces. This is the simplest form you can have at the very beginning. If you have any ideas for your own residences, feel free to tell me. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. His own territory would naturally continue to strengthen as he grew stronger. Good son-in-law, the news of your promotion has already spread. When the time comes, there will probably be many who will come to pay a visit to you, Monarch Dongbua. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. You have also just constructed a fief and opened a residence. It would be best if you organize a banquet and invite many powerful existences. Dongbua Shuiying nodded his head. Obtaining a fief and opening a residence was a huge matter for cultivators. Hence, it was indeed necessary to organize a banquet. Father-in-law, you should be familiar with such matters. I'll leave it to you. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. Good. Monarch Mo Shui laughed as he agreed. Contacting powerful existences from all over was also a matter of face. Before reincarnating, being able to have such a face made him extremely happy. Jingqiu said from the side, Snow Eagle, you still have to get people from the Bloodshed God Palace to hurry over and construct a time-space teleportation array here. All right. Dongbua Shuiying nodded his head. Without a time-space teleportation array, it would be troublesome for those who were weaker and did not have a starfield flying ship. For example, his own son Dongbua Yu did not have a starfield flying ship. Suddenly, a voice resounded in Dongbua Shuiying's ears, Dongbua, I have just slightly modified this Cosmos Deity Demon list. This is something that I created in my free time. I will only inform the cultivators on the list. Primal Master's voice was still very familiar to Dongbua Shuiying, and he immediately recognized it. Following which, the newest Cosmos Deity Demon list was sent over. Chapter 608. The identity of the Primal Master had always been a secret. Many Stage 4 world deities did not even know of the existence of this ruler. Amongst the rulers, he was the most low-profile and the most transcendent one. At the same time, he was also the most ancient one. Coupled with the fact that the Cosmos Deity Demon list that he created was only given to the experts that were on the list, the reputation of the Cosmos Deity Demon list was small, and very few people knew about it. In the vast universe, only the true peak existences knew about it. Dongbua Shuiying watched carefully. First, Bloodblade second, Abyss Progenitor third, Primeval Master number 8, Pangin number 9, Bloody Dominator 10th place, Monarch Qing 11, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction 12, Monarch Hex Cricket 13th, Water Demon King 14th place, White Sovereign King number 15, The Ascetic Rank 16, Purgatory Great Commander 17th place, Paragon Huacheng number 18, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master 19, Mysterious North Imperial Empress, number 44, Patrol Demon King 45, Pan You Know, 46, Blind Old Man 50th place, Purple Gown Hex Emperor No, 51, Hall Master Bei Hu No, 52, Emperor Dongbo number 55, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament number 56, Lord Prison Ocean Number 57, Nanyang Palace Head 100, Forefather Vicious Tyrant. The names on the list were all titles. Very few people called them by their real names. Only Pang Yi and Pan Yu were direct names. Pang Yi was a little special. Back then, he had accepted disciples wantonly and was completely devoted to teaching. He was also very peaceful and had even publicly announced that he would abandon all titles and could directly call him by his name. As for Pan Yu, he was a powerful existence that rose up during the earliest period of the universe. He was originally an ordinary dog beast that cultivated step by step. After becoming a powerful existence, he had a good relationship with Monarch Hex Cricket. Later on, when Monarch Hex Cricket became a paragon, the two of them seemed to have a conflict and parted ways, rarely interacting with each other. In the vast universe, his strength is ranked in the top 100. Dongbua Shuiying sighed in admiration. I never expected myself to be ranked 52nd, higher than the Nanyang Palace Head, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, and a bunch of other supreme existences. He was ranked 52nd. It was considered a very high ranking. His ranking was almost the same as the purple-robed Mage Emperor. But I think I still have many weaknesses when it comes to secret combat techniques. Dongbua Shuiying pondered and said, for example, the Nanyang Palace Head also has an absolute art. Why am I ranked above him? Is it because of the True God weapon and the huge advantage of defense? Dongbua Shuiying guessed. He had not brought the True God weapon Flying Dagger into the darkness abyss, so he had not used it. But what kind of status did the Primal Master have? He should have known that if he joined the army of destruction, he would naturally have a True God-level weapon. A True God-level weapon could increase his power. When considering the ranking, the Primal Master would definitely include the True God weapon. The Nanyang Palace Head did not have a True God weapon. In addition to his heaven-defying defense, even a Paragon realm existence like the White Sovereign King, who specialized in slaughter, would only be able to damage the surface of his armor. This kind of defense was also his greatest advantage. It was probably because all of these factors were taken into account that he was given such a ranking. At the same time that the Primal Master imparted this Cosmos Deity Demon list to Dongbua Shuiying, he also imparted it to other existences on the list. All of them discovered the changes in the list. Because it had not been long since the previous list was created, the most obvious difference was the appearance of Dongbua Shuiying. He had caused the rest of the list to move back by one rank, and the Monarch of Starfall had been kicked out of the list. Monarch Dongbua? That's that His Highness Dongbua Shuiying. I've heard that God Emperor made him one of the 5 monarchs of the Bloodshed God Palace. He actually managed to rank 52nd so quickly. His senior disciple brother Monarch Guzong is only ranked 49th, purple-gowned Hex Emperor, who was currently cultivating under the tutelage of the Primal Master, praised. He did not care that his ranking was slightly higher. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor was different from others. He did not care about absolute arts. Instead, he valued the various cultivation paths. Thus, even though he was ranked 50th, he had accumulated a great deal of experience. He specialized in many different paths, and any path would allow him to open his own Dao. It was not impossible for him to open several Daos in the future. I hope he doesn't pursue strength too much. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor chuckled. Paragon Huacheng, who was seated by the side, glared at him. Purple-gown, don't say that about my brother Dongbua. With his cultivation speed, he would most likely transcend not long after. Don't let him transcend before you become a paragon. He is a member of the army of destruction. The moment he transcends, he has hopes of cultivating the absolute art of the army of destruction to an even more profound level. By then, he would most likely be able to fight against paragons. This isn't him being formidable. It's the absolute art created by the Lake Heart Island Master that is formidable. It's an absolute art created by the strongest existences across many epochs. It's normal for it to have such power. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor said. Humph, he's not formidable? Paragon Huacheng was slightly annoyed. The Destruction Eden is right there. If you have the ability, you should go and give it a try. See if you can join the army of destruction. In our Cosmos epoch, other than Pang Yi, only Brother Dongbua has done it. Isn't this strength? Purple-gowned Hex Emperor was startled. That's right. Although there weren't many who knew about the destruction Eden, there were still some who knew about it at the peak. However, they had all failed in their attempts. Only Pang Yi and Dongbua Shuiying had succeeded. It's my fault. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor laughed. To be able to become a member of the army of destruction, it is indeed strength. That's right. Paragon Huachang said. Oh right, Brother Dongbua has just informed me that he will be holding an opening banquet 3 months later. Are you going? I won't be going. I've gained a lot from this trip to the ancient cave dwelling. It's better for me to stay here and think quietly, searching for that bit of inspiration. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor said. Help me bring the gift over. Also help me inform Dongbua Shuiying. I really don't wish to be distracted now. Alright, I understand. Paragon Huacheng nodded. He knew the temper of this new junior brother of his. Purple-gowned Hex Emperor loved to cultivate and research. It was normal for him to cultivate for 10 billion years in one go. He had gained a lot from this trip to the ancient cave dwelling. Naturally, he wasn't willing to be distracted. All the pinnacle experts in this vast universe knew of Dongbua Shuiying. From this day onwards, Dongbua Shuiying had also entered their circle. Although the main purpose of this opening banquet was to invite his father-in-law, it was not a simple matter. However, those with higher statuses like Hallmaster Bei, Hu and Monarch Guzong were personally invited by Dongbua Shuiying. Paragons like Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and Paragon Huachang were personally invited by Dongbua Shuiying. Regardless of whether they came or not, he had to invite them first. Dongbua Shuiying had even personally invited a powerful existence, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament has an old grudge with Jing Qiu. Jing Qiu wasn't wrong in this matter. However, against a powerful existence who has no attachments and is extremely proficient in the art of escaping, where even paragons find it hard to kill, there's no need to continue fighting. Dongbua Shuiying thought, this is also a chance to resolve this. People like Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, who had no attachments, were the hardest to deal with. He might not be able to do anything to him, but he could definitely deal with Jing Qiu. Unless Jing Qiu continued to hide in his nest. However, he couldn't do anything to him. The other party's art of escaping was too powerful. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, I'm Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua Shuiying didn't have the other party's transmission imprint. Thus, he directly used the karmic connection to transmit a message to Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. Chapter 609. Dongbua Shuiying? Humph. Why did you come looking for me after being listed on the Cosmos Deity Demon list by Primal Master? Forefather Golden Firmament transmitted back with a sneer. Oh, I almost forgot. Your ranking is above mine. Dongbua Shuiying felt his heart clench. This Forefather Golden Firmament's tone was not right. Why were the Fierce Five of the deity world called the Fierce Five, and not the Five Saints? It was because they were famous for their savagery. Even their leader, Peng, was famous for his savagery. After all, they were born as deity world lifeforms, and were innately savage. It was only later that Peng Yi gradually changed. His greatest turning point was when he was heavily injured by a single punch from Monarch Green. Currently, Peng Yi had become extremely peaceful. There was no news of him becoming a ruler, but Primal Master had ranked him higher than one of the 3 rulers of the Abyss, Bloody Ruler. However, Peng Yi was peaceful, and the other 4 were still savage. With Peng Yi's current status, he would naturally not cause any more trouble. Only 4 of the Fierce Five remained, and these 4 were led by Forefather Golden Firmament. Forefather Golden Firmament had worked hard for the Absolute Art Heart Sword diagram for hundreds of billions of years, and had even obtained 4 incomplete pieces of the diagram. The final incomplete piece of the Heart Sword diagram was located in a ruin which he and his companions had worked hard to decipher. At that time, Jing Qiu had unintentionally obtained it without experiencing any danger. Forefather Golden Firmament had long gone mad from anger. With his escaping skills, if he could obtain the complete and extremely powerful Heart Sword diagram, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament was confident that he would have a chance to compete with Patrol Devil Lord and the others. If he was lucky, he might even be inspired by the Heart Sword diagram and open up his own Tao. It was not impossible. But no matter what, this absolute art was lacking the final bit, and all his efforts were wasted. Forefather Golden Firmament originally guessed that Jing Qiu had failed in her reincarnation, and could only throw it to the back of his mind. But a few years ago, he received news that Dongbua Shuang had entered the Lake Heart Island and disregarded everything to save Monarch Mo Shui. Furthermore, Jing Qiu and Monarch Mo Shui were both staying in the Crimson Stone courtyard of the Bloodshed God Palace. More importantly, Jing Qiu was actually a stage 4 world deity. Jing Qiu, who came from the material realm, had actually reached the 4th heavenly layer before Dongbua Shuang. With such a fast speed, it probably surpassed the record of reaching the 4th heaven in history. He heard it again. Jing Qiu was an expert in swordsmanship? Patriarch Golden Firmament was no fool. With a little speculation, he understood that Jing Qiu must have reincarnated. In addition to her proficiency in sword techniques and her relationship with Monarch Mo Shui, she must be the eldest daughter of Monarch Mo Shui. Patriarch Golden Firmament. Dongbua Shuang was very calm as he sent a karmic voice transmission. I have no other intentions. It's just that Master has just conferred me the title of one of the 5 imperial monarchs. In the future, I will be residing in the Black Fog Sea. Therefore, I will be establishing my manor here. Naturally, I will be holding an opening banquet and inviting all my friends. The banquet will be held in 3 months' time. I hope that Patriarch Golden Firmament will be graced with your presence in 3 months' time. Oh, alright, this forefather will definitely be there. Forefather Golden Firmament's voice was slightly sharp. He then cut off the connection. Dongbua Shuang smiled. He hoped to resolve the enmity between them, but there was a limit to his good temper. Whether he was a friend or a foe would depend on Forefather Golden Firmament himself. Of the 3 ancestors, Monarch of Destruction, Pang Yi, and Dongbua Shuang had sent a direct message through the internal system of the Bloodshed Tavern. No matter what, they were all from the Bloodshed God Palace, and on the surface they had to be invited. However, Dongbua Shuang reckoned that the chances of them coming were low. After all, paragons would rarely condescend to participate in such matters. Even his teacher, Bloodblade and Dongbua Shuang, had invited him. Bloodblade directly replied, when the time comes, I'll let your 5th uncle Master go over. He likes crowds. Such an occasion, Bloodblade would naturally not appear. 5th uncle Master? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. Who was it? It's your black bird uncle Master. Bloodblade said. That thieving bird always calls himself 5th Highness. Black bird uncle Master? Dongbua Shuang muttered inwardly. This was the first time he had heard God Emperor call Blackbird his uncle Master. He had initially thought that it was just a slightly unique pet, but from the looks of it, God Emperor and Blackbird seemed to have a brotherly relationship. In the following days, first, the personal guards and the Xia people deities who were originally in the supervisor envoy residence moved over. The Bloodshed God Palace also sent people over to set up the space-time teleportation array. An enormous palace formed a luxurious residence. Above the entrance of the residence were naturally the 2 words Dongbua. From now on, this place was known as the Dongbua Residence. We're here. The white-robed Dongbua Yu walked out of the space-time teleportation array. Beside him was a green-haired woman named Shi Wei. Shi Wei said, Your Highness Yu, your father and mother have been waiting anxiously for you. They said that you would be back in half a month, but they kept dragging it out. That's why they ordered me to bring you back. Amen. Dongbua Yu nodded lightly. So, you're not happy at all when you come to Black Mist Sea and see the Emperor Dongbua residence? Shi Wei laughed. Dongbua Yu and Shi Wei flew, simultaneously gazing at the enormous residence in the distance. The Emperor Dongbua residence was indeed enormous. After all, at Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu's level, they would need a lot of space just to test out their techniques or research spirit arrays. Naturally, the residence was even larger. It took up almost 1/10 of the entire continent. The residence's main entrance and courtyard walls were similarly tall and towering. They were reinforced by multiple spirit arrays, including material spirit arrays. The main entrance was extravagant and huge. The 2 words Dongbua were personally written by Dongbua Shuang. These 2 words made the entire Dongbua residence seem deep and unfathomable, as if it was a huge world of its own. This feeling wasn't wrong. These 2 words were the core of an enormous spirit array. It was also a world spirit array that Dongbo Shuiying had spent a month setting up after building the residence. The spirit array was a world spirit array. The Emperor Dongbo residence was a vast world of its own. Father personally wrote it? Dongbo Yu raised his head and looked at it. Of course. The Emperor is amazing, right? Shi Wei praised. She also respectfully addressed Dongbo Shuiying as the Emperor. She had personally witnessed Dongbo Shuiying's rise to a height even higher than Holy Lord Crimson Dust. Amazing. A hint of a smile appeared on Dongbo Yu's face. Shi Wei muttered inwardly. He's finally smiling. When she found Dongbo Yu was actually drinking alone. He could clearly use his godly energy to cure himself, but he kept drinking. I have to inform the Emperor and Madam. Shi Wei thought. His Highness Yu seems to have suffered a blow. Could it be because of his feelings or something else? Greetings, Your Highness. Greetings, Your Highness. The guards at the entrance bowed respectfully. They were all veterans of the personal guard. They all knew of Dongbo Yu and Shi Wei. They were all very proud of themselves. After all, the higher Dongbo Shuiying's status was, the greater the influence of their personal guard. Within an underground hall, Dongbo Shuiying sat cross-legged on an icy blue blanket. The blanket was soft and emitted a cooling feeling throughout his body. At this moment, he was isolated from all probing of laws. Dongbo Shuiying was currently holding a dark red talisman in his hand. This was the talisman formed from the sharp dark red shard left behind by the frozen corpse of the Venerable, and the other shard found in the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain. Dongbo Shuiying lowered his head and carefully examined the runes on it. Just this simple rune alone. Although it looks ordinary, it's actually unfathomable. Previously it was just a shard, so he couldn't tell much. But now it was a complete rune. The more he studied it, the more profound it seemed. Its level of profundity far surpassed his current realm. Chapter 610. Dongbo Shuiying flipped through the talisman. The realm of the ancient carvings was much higher than his, so he was unable to comprehend them. This talisman, is it a blessing or a curse? Dongbo Shuiying frowned. Back then, when he obtained the other fragment from the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain and fused them together, a message was transmitted from the talisman. The message was short, but it caused Dongbo Shuiying to feel an invisible pressure. This message was a message left behind by an ancient cultivator. This cosmos is so enchanting. Every blade of grass, every tree, every ray of sunlight, every drop of dew, all of them make me infatuated. However, I will have to leave this cosmos eventually. Before leaving, I will leave behind 3 talismans. After every talisman recognizes an owner, as long as the talisman is activated, no matter where you are in this cosmos, no matter if you are imprisoned or sealed, or even trapped in an ancient ruin, as long as the talisman is activated, you will be teleported to the place where I lived for a long time. That place, I named it the starting ground. There is a gift that I left behind for this cosmos before I left. However, this gift is accompanied by danger. Every time you enter, you will have a slim chance of survival. The moment you die, the talisman will once again scatter across the vast cosmos, waiting for the next cultivator. If you succeed, you will receive my gift. Furthermore, you will be able to teleport from the starting ground to any location in this vast cosmos. The number of times you can enter is limited. You can enter once in the World Deity Realm, once in the World Deity Realm, once in the Opening Realm, and once in the Ruler Realm. Dongbo Shuiying pondered. This message was short, but if one tried to comprehend it, they would discover many secrets. Firstly, there were a total of 3 such talismans. Naturally, the other 2 might have an owner or they might not. Perhaps they were scattered across the cosmos. Secondly, the starting ground that these talismans led to was left behind by an ancient cultivator. He had already left this cosmos. Left this cosmos? Dongbo Shuiying muttered to himself. Moreover, even true god rulers can enter, and the danger they would encounter would be a slim chance of survival? This senior who left behind the starting ground should be far stronger than a true god ruler. Moreover, one can activate the talisman from any place to teleport to the starting ground, and from the starting ground one can directly go to any place in the universe? Dongbo Shuiying was slightly shocked. Just the spatial teleportation from the talisman alone had already surpassed the means of the temporal island lord. Places like the Lake Heart Island and some other ancient ruins were all suppressed by arrays. Most people would have to fly slowly to reach that place, and there was no way to travel through space. However, the talisman could directly teleport into the starting ground. All the formations in the ruins were useless. This was too heaven-defying. Could it be that he's stronger than the master of Lake Heart Island? No, the Lake Heart Island master is the #1 expert of the many universe epics mentioned by Master. Master's foresight is much higher than mine. Since he holds the Lake Heart Island master in such high regard, the Lake Heart Island master must be extremely powerful. Perhaps the master of the starting ground is only an expert in spatial teleportation? Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Just like the Cosmos Deity Demon list. First on the list was Bloodblade. But in terms of space-time shifting, the Temporal Island Lord was the strongest. Everyone had their own specialties. The master of the starting ground might be in existence on the same level as the Lake Heart Island master, and was also one of the top few terrifying existences across the many universe epochs. Was it just that he specialized in spatial teleportation? Forget it, I won't think about it anymore. Dongbua Shuang soon threw this question to the back of his mind. It did not matter who the master of the starting ground was. To be able to forcefully teleport away from any ancient ruins, he should not be any weaker than the Lake Heart Island master. Even though the danger was huge, Dongbua Shuang understood that this was also an opportunity. If he used this talisman well, he could use it to escape at a crucial moment. However, he could only use it once in the World Deity Realm. The World Deity Realm was easy to understand. The World Realm referred to grasping the complete laws of the heaven and earth. The Opening Realm referred to opening one's own Tao. The Ruler Realm referred to being a ruler. I only have one chance in the World Deity Realm, and I can't use it unless I'm in a dire situation. Furthermore, it was mentioned that 9 out of 10 would die and 1 out. Since this senior had left behind this trial, it must be a trial for the younger generation. The stronger one is, the greater the chance of survival. Shuang thought, I have to let myself become stronger and grand perfection before entering. I hope I won't die the first time I enter. Dongbua Shuang thought. Suddenly, Emperor, His Highness Yu has been brought back. It was Shi Wei's voice transmission. Yu is back? Dongbua Shuang revealed an expression of joy. He immediately kept the talisman and left the underground hall. The branches hung down, swaying with the wind. High up in the sky, Shui Ying and Jing Qiu could see the handsome white-robed Dongbo Yu and the green-haired Shi Wei standing on the stone path. So. The two of them flew down and landed on the stone path. Your son greets father and mother. Dongbua Shuang revealed an expression of joy when he saw his parents, and immediately bowed respectfully. I called you back for the establishment of the mansion, but you refused. In the end, it was Shi Wei who brought you back. Dongbua Shuang laughed as he looked at his son. He had been in closed-door cultivation for too long, and even his main body in the Crimson Rock Mountain world of the Xia people had been in closed-door cultivation for a long period of time. Thus, after not seeing his son for so long, he could feel that Dongbua Yu seemed to be more reserved when he saw him. Dongbua Yu hurriedly said, It's your son's fault. Jing Qiu immediately pulled her son's hand. What's wrong? Come, let's have a good chat. Your sister will be here soon. Amen. Dongbua Shuang's eyes were slightly red. Family was the most important thing in his life. Dongbua Shuang frowned slightly. Jing Qiu did not notice anything amiss either. Dongbua Shuang had been in closed-door cultivation for too long, and had thought that his son had become rusty. But now, his son's eyes were slightly red. A peak deity-level cultivator was showing his emotions so openly? Only then did Dongbua Shuang realize that something was amiss. Jing Qiu, on the other hand, had seen her son frequently. The moment she saw him, she immediately took the initiative to pull her son's hand. Snow Eagle, you seems to have experienced something outside. Jing Qiu transmitted. Let me ask Shi Wei. Dongbua Shuang immediately transmitted, Shi Wei, what's wrong with you? Reporting to the Emperor and Madam. Shi Wei, who was following behind, transmitted. I don't know the details, but I was ordered by the Emperor to bring His Highness Yu back. When I found His Highness Yu was actually drunk. I asked around and found out that His Highness you had been drinking and getting drunk for over 30 years, and was rather dispirited. Dongbo Shuiying and Jing Qiu exchanged glances. Jing Qiu, let me check. Dongbo Shuiying transmitted. He immediately used the Bloodshed Tavern system to investigate the details of his son's past. The Temporal Temple sold information, and the Bloodshed Tavern was in charge of assassin missions. They similarly placed great importance on information, just that it was slightly weaker. However, with Dongbo Shuiying's identity, the Bloodshed Tavern would naturally do their best to investigate. It would take time to investigate. Dongbo Shuiying and Jing Qiu accompanied their son and daughter for a long time. At the start, Dongbo Yu was rather happy, but gradually he felt depressed. He said, "Father, Mother, I still don't know where I am staying. Let the servants bring me to have a look." "No need. Qingyao, go bring your brother." Dongbo Shuiying instructed. "There's no need to trouble, sister." Dongbo Yu replied. "What's the trouble? Let's go." Dongbo Qingyao grabbed Dongbo Yu. As a world deity, she was like an eagle grabbing a chick. Dongbo Yu was unable to resist at all. Nevertheless, Dongbo Yu still felt somewhat happy in his heart when his sister acted so wantonly with him. Very soon the siblings left. Dongbo Shuiying and Jing Qiu were also strolling around the residence. "Yes," Dongbo Shuiying said. "You found out?" Jing Qiu asked. How could parents not care about their children? As expected, Dongbo Shuiying laughed. It really is a matter of emotions. Forget about deities, even at the ruler realm, emotions would cause a cultivator's temperament to change. Quickly tell us, Jing Qiu asked. It happened about 10,000 years ago. Dongbo Shuiying said. Yuer was adventuring outside, and he arrived at a place called the White Blossom Planet. The master of the White Blossom Planet was called the White Blossom World Deity. She was a Stage 2 world deity, and she was the absolute overlord of that starfield. When Yuer was on the White Blossom Planet, he got to know a woman. That woman was also from the White Blossom World Deity's family, but she was just an ordinary deity. Her relationship with Yuer gradually deepened, but 30 years ago, that woman and Yuer separated. In truth, it's not a big deal. It's just that this was the first time Yuer had feelings for someone since he started cultivating, and he couldn't take it anymore. For 30 years, he intentionally got himself drunk. Jing Qiu laughed. Dongbo Shuiying also had a smile on his face. The two of them weren't worried. Instead, they were happy. After all, on the long path of cultivation, emotional entanglements didn't count for much. What made them happy was that their son, who hadn't talked about emotions for hundreds of thousands of years, had finally fallen in love with a woman. Chapter 6:11. Cultivators would either fall in love at a very early stage and become husband and wife, or they would fall in love at a very late stage and never fall in love at all. This was because once they truly stepped on the path of cultivation and immersed themselves in the laws of the world, they would enter closed-door cultivation for a very long time and rarely fall in love. The stronger a cultivator was, the calmer their mental state would be. They would not be willing to be disturbed by emotions, and could have as many women as they wanted. But to fall in love? Difficult. However, there was one situation that would cause cultivators to fall in love, and that was when they fell into a bottleneck and were unable to break through for a long period of time. At this time, their mental state would be affected and they would choose to travel the world in search of opportunities. In fact, cultivators would even take the initiative to let go of their emotions. To them, tempering their emotions might be an opportunity for them to break through. Of course, once they fell in love, it would surpass their lives. Why did that girl break up with Yuer? Jing Qiu asked. She looked down on Yuer and felt that Yuer did not work hard in his cultivation. Thus they broke up. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. It seems that girl did not truly immerse herself in the relationship. Jing Qiu said. Right? Dongbo Shuiying said. This is a good thing as well. It is also a form of tempering for Yuer. It was a very simple emotional setback. There was no such thing as a separation of life and death. Dongbo Shuiying and his wife were not worried at all. After all, their son had cultivated his heart for so many years and had experienced many things. It was impossible for him to be so weak. Their son had probably seen through it long ago. Getting drunk was just him venting his frustrations. After all, this was his first relationship, and it had lasted for 10,000 years. In the blink of an eye, the day of the opening ceremony had arrived. Many powerful existences rushed over from all directions to congratulate him. After all, Dongbua Shuang was very powerful and had a combat power close to that of a paragon. The world of cultivators was very realistic. The stronger one was, the more respected one would be. Hua! A starfield flying ship flew out from the space-time tunnel. There were 3 figures on the deck of the ship. The one in the lead was an old man with an aquiline nose. Beside him were 2 young world deities. They were none other than Drunk Guest and Jiu Shi, who had participated in the myriad flower feast with Dongbua Shuang. The 2 of them were the disciples of Yu Gong. Yu Gong had brought these 2 with him this time. Drunk Guest was already a universe deity of the 2nd heaven, while Jiu Shi was still a universe deity of the 1st heaven. Emperor Dongbo also participated in the myriad flower feast with Yu. The hook-nosed old man, Yu Gong, said, but at that time, he should have been a grade 1 true meaning transcendent who was deliberately hiding his strength. In the blink of an eye, his strength has already surpassed mine. Jiu Shi and Drunk Guest listened obediently. Yu Gong brought his 2 disciples here to get closer to Dongbua Shuang. This was because there would definitely be many almighty existences here today. If he didn't bring his 2 disciples, he, Yu Gong, would only be one of the almighty existences. Dongbua Shuang might not even pay attention to him. Let's go down. As for Jiu Shi and Drunk Guest, their hearts were filled with complicated emotions. Jiu Shi was narrow-minded to begin with, which made her even more indignant. After all, he wasn't even a personal disciple under Yu Gong's tutelage. If not for the fact that he and Dongbua Shuang had participated in the myriad flower feast together, Yu Gong wouldn't have brought him along. As for Drunk Guest, he could feel the gap between them, but at the same time his fighting spirit grew stronger. Very soon they descended and arrived at the main gate of Monarch Dongbo's residence. The majestic residence, as well as the formless aura emanating from the arrays, caused Jiu Shi and Drunk Guest to hold their breaths. The main gate was wide open. Not far away, a couple with extraordinary auras could be seen. The 2 had brought along a relatively weaker man and woman to welcome the guests. Ha ha ha, I've long since heard of Monarch Dongbo's name. It's just that during the battle at the 3 Chieftains' sacred mountain in the dark abyss, Monarch Dongbo left me tongue-tied. Yu Gong laughed as he walked forward with his 2 disciples. With a single glance, Dongbua Shuang recognized Drunk Guest and Jiu Shi behind Yu Gong. Drunk Guest and Jiu Shi participated in the myriad flower feast with me back then, and they were also ranked in the top 3 of the Kamsi prefecture. However, both of them are disciples of Yu Gong. It's no ordinary coincidence, said Dongbua Shuang. Beside him, Jingqiu, Dongbua Qingyao and Dongbua Yu bowed slightly as well. Fate, fate. Haha, Yu Gong said. He noticed a surging aura approaching from behind, and he couldn't help but feel slightly startled. He immediately said, I'll be going in first. Monarch Dongbo is very busy today. Please. Dongbua Shuang watched as Yu Gong and the rest left. Only then did he take the initiative to welcome the newcomer. Big Brother Huacheng. Brother Dongbua. The newcomer was none other than Paragon Huacheng. The other powerful existences had brought along 2 or 3 subordinates, but Paragon Huacheng had come alone. His unseen aura had long since caused those powerful existences to hold their breaths. After all, he was ranked in the top 20 across the entire cosmos, including the rulers. Many powerful existences arrived. Dongbua Shuang brought along his wife and children to welcome them. The less they chatted, the more they chatted. It was normal for them to chat for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. The moment a new guest arrived, the conversation would naturally end, and Dongbua Shuang would go to welcome the new guest. At this moment, a plump male brought along 2 female world deities walked over. This plump male's eyes were deep and unfathomable, and his aura was extraordinary. He was a powerful existence from the Bloodshed God Palace. The majority of the powerful existences who came today were powerful existences who did not rely on any superpowers. After all, there were only about 20 powerful existences who belonged to the Bloodshed God Palace. Monarch Dongbua. The plump male greeted as he walked over. Monarch Hunting Wind. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. Monarch Hunting Wind was a powerful existence who had evolved from a beast. Many sovereigns from the dark abyss surrounded and attacked the monarch, Yet they could not do anything to him. In the end, the monarch fought 1 against 3, and even killed a powerful existence from the dark abyss. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. The plump male simply praised a few words before praising Dongbua Shuiying's wife and children. And behind the plump male were 2 female world deities. One of them was the White Ying world deity. The White Ying world deity saw Dongbua Yu. Dongbua Yu also saw the White Ying world deity. He had naturally obtained intelligence on many world deities, so he was able to recognize the White Ying world deity with a single glance. White Ying world deity. Feng Yu should be from her clan. Dongbua Yu thought. The White Ying world deity was rather reserved. After all, this was an extraordinary occasion. Her teacher, God Monarch Hunting Wind, was just an ordinary person here. Suddenly, the White Ying world deity noticed Dongbua Yu. Monarch Dongbua's son? The White Ying world deity was slightly stunned. She had lived in the White Ying planet for a long time, and had seen Dongbua Yu with a woman from her clan, although she had only glanced at them from afar. But what kind of memory did world deities have? Naturally, she remembered it clearly. The one with Feng Yu is Monarch Dongbua's son? Ha ha ha, the heavens are helping me. Feng Yu is really lucky. She is actually together with Monarch Dongbua's son. The White Ying world deity was overjoyed. Her status was too high, so she did not know that Feng Yu and Dongbua Yu had already been separated. The White Ying world deity even smiled at Dongbua Yu. Dongbua Yu was slightly embarrassed. Suddenly, an overbearing and fierce aura came from the main entrance. The plump man looked back and immediately said, "I shall go in first. I shall not disturb the monarch." He immediately left with the 2 female disciples. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the figure that walked in from the main entrance. The figure was dressed in a golden robe and had a pair of sharp and fierce golden eyes. It was Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, one of the 5 fierce beasts of the god realm. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament's gaze swept past Dongbua Shuiying, then landed on Yu Jingqiu. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. Dongbua Shuiying smiled and took the initiative to welcome him. Monarch Dongbua, is this the monarch's wife? Old Ancestor Golden Firmament also walked in with a cold smile. Chapter 612. Right, this is my wife Jingqiu. Dongbua Shuiying warmly went forward to welcome her. Jingqiu? Even your name changed after your reincarnation. Forefather Golden Firmament looked at Jingqiu, but he knew that things were different now. Jingqiu now had her husband, Dongbua Shuiying, behind her, and Dongbua Shuiying was not any weaker than him. Furthermore, many experts had come to attend the opening banquet, especially Paragon Huachang, who had a life and death bond with Dongbua Shuiying. Even if he wanted to vent his anger, today was not the right time to do so. Haha. Dongbua Shuiying laughed, then changed the topic. Forefather coming here is already giving me, Dongbua Shuiying face. That little grudge back then shows that we are fated to meet. How about we discuss it in private after the banquet? Alright. Forefather Golden Firmament indifferently replied, then glanced at Jingqiu. Profound daughter Starsword, your luck is truly not bad. In the past you had your father protecting you and now you have your husband protecting you. Jingqiu stood by Dongbua Shuiying's side and smiled. Many thanks for the forefather's praise. My luck has always been good. Forefather Golden Firmament snorted, then turned and left. The fact that he did not directly attack Jingqiu was already a testament to his patience. After sending off Forefather Golden Firmament with her gaze, Jingqiu heaved a sigh of relief, then transmitted back with a smile, Snow Eagle, I thought that with Forefather Golden Firmament's fiendish temper, he would start a fight the moment he arrived. He is fiendish but he is no fool, Dongbua Shuiying transmitted back. If he dares to attack, Big Brother Huacheng will suppress him with a single slap. The guests arrived one after another. Quite a few Stage 4 world deities came as well, such as the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, whom he had a good relationship with, and Monarch Armadillo Jade and King Fu Qiong, whom he had adventured with back at Lake Heart Island. Many Stage 4 world deities arrived, and most of them had a simple friendship. Dongbua Shuiying also welcomed them warmly. Big Sis, the white-robed woman, 7th Mei Yu, had come to pay a visit alongside Empress Mother Whirlpool. Dongbua Shuiying and his wife, along with their children, were even more enthusiastic. Even Jingqiu's smile widened. Little sister, Jingqiu was also very happy. During the myriad flower feast, she had recognized her sister, but she didn't dare to reveal her identity. This little sister pays her respects to big sister and brother-in-law. 7th Meiyu was also full of smiles. The smiles on the faces of Dongbua Xueying and Emperor Mother Whirlpool grew even brighter. Monarch Mother Whirlpool laughed and said, "Haha, back then, this disciple of mine participated in the myriad flower feast with Monarch. Who would have thought that she would actually be your wife's younger sister? Fate. Back then this wife of mine even hid it from me. I didn't even know that 7th Meiyu was a girl." Dongbua Xueying sighed and shook his head. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed interesting. "You are now quickly greet your aunt." Jingqiu was very close to her sister. "Aunt." Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qing Yao called out obediently. "The two of you bring your aunt to find your grandfather." Jingqiu instructed. "Yes. Aunt, come with us." Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qing Yao were very cordial towards their aunt. 7th Meiyu immediately informed her master, Emperor Mother Whirlpool. Naturally, Emperor Mother Whirlpool said, Go. She had many disciples, but she only brought 7th Meiyu along. She wanted to use this opportunity to improve their relationship. After all, Dongbua Xueying's strength was extraordinary, and he was one of the 5 monarchs. If she couldn't protect him, she could always go to Dongbua Xueying's door. Apart from Forefather Golden Firmament, who had some conflict with him, the others were all on good terms with him. Some of them even had extraordinary relationships. He saw 2 figures in the distance. One was a bald, white-robed youth, while the other was a white-haired, youthful-faced elder. Dongbua Xueying took the initiative to step forward. Senior apprentice brother, forefather. These 2 were none other than eldest apprentice brother Huiming and Chihua Laozu. I've long known that junior apprentice brother's future is boundless, but I didn't expect you to grow so quickly. Eldest apprentice brother Huiming had a pure smile on his face. This senior apprentice brother has to say that I admire you. Senior apprentice brother, you're overpraising me. It's not hard for a grade 1 true meaning transcendent to become a stage 4 heavenly deity. I was just lucky enough to obtain an absolute art. Dongbua Xueying replied. Lucky? Strength doesn't depend on luck. Junior apprentice brother, don't be too humble. Eldest apprentice brother Huiming laughed. Clearly he was in a good mood. Oh, senior apprentice brother, Dongbua Xueying transmitted. After the banquet ends, let's have a good chat in private. Oh, eldest apprentice brother Huiming was startled. It's regarding master's vengeance. Dongbua Xueying transmitted. Eldest apprentice brother Huiming nodded lightly. First of all, Sacred Master Crimson Dust's death was due to the fact that he was indebted to Sacred Master Crimson Dust even though he had never met him before. Furthermore, Sacred Master Crimson Dust's character was something that Dongbua Xueying admired. On the other hand, Patriarch Black Devil was a treacherous person. If Sacred Master Crimson Dust was a great demon, and Patriarch Black Devil was a straightforward person, Dongbua Xueying would not have been so proactive in his vengeance. Secondly, there was still some karma between them, so he still had to act. Thirdly, it was also a form of tempering for himself. He couldn't possibly bury himself in cultivation all the time, right? All right. Eldest apprentice brother Huiming nodded. Dongbua Xueying looked at Huiming, while many thoughts flashed through his mind. He had obtained the original copy of the Blood Demon scripture with the intention of imparting it to others. However, there weren't many who had the qualifications to do so. He was still considering who to impart it to. Snow Eagle. After exchanging a few words with Dongbua Xueying, Chihua Laozu sent a telepathic message to Dongbua Xueying. Snow Eagle, I'm afraid that I'll have to trouble you with something. What do you mean by trouble? Just tell me what you need. Even if I have to risk my life, I won't hesitate. Dongbua Xueying replied. He couldn't forget Chihua Laozu's kindness back then. If Chihua Laozu hadn't helped him back then, Dongbua Xueying didn't dare to imagine what he would be like right now. Chihua Laozu felt a warm feeling in his heart when he heard that. Back then, he had only helped Dongbua Xueying because he was touched by his own feelings. Yet, Dongbua Xueying was willing to risk his life for him. There's no need to risk your life. This matter is a little complicated, and there are many guests here. We'll talk about it after the banquet, Chihua Laozu said. Alright, we'll talk about it after the banquet. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. Guests came one after another. There were stage 4 world deities and powerful existences. Even the more powerful existences. Hall Master Bei Hu and his senior brother, Monarch Guzong, had come. Monarch Guzong spent most of his time in seclusion, and it was rare for him to come out. But this time he actually came to participate in Dongbua Shuiying's opening banquet. This caused many of the powerful existences to feel astonished. However, there was something else that caused them to be even more astonished. Dongbua Shuiying. A figure walked in from the main entrance. It was a purple-robed male. His eyes were long and narrow, and his formless aura caused the hearts of the distant powerful existences to tremble. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. It's the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. The distant guests were all astonished. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was one of the 3 ancestors, and his strength was deep and unfathomable. The few times he acted, they were all shockingly powerful. Dongbua Shuiying naturally took the initiative to welcome him. He had a deeper understanding of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. The Tao he opened was the Tao of Destruction Lightning. This Tao was extremely tyrannical, and its speed was exceptional. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master had opened this Tao at stage 4, and was ranked 18th on the Cosmos Deity Demon list. His strength was comparable to the ancient paragon Huachang. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master chuckled. Congratulations. Who would have thought that Prefecture Master would come today? You have given me a pleasant surprise. Dongbua Shuiying said. You are pleasantly surprised that I came? Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master had a smile on his face. Then what about your eldest senior brother? Eldest senior brother? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master turned to look behind. Dongbua Shuiying looked over. A figure walked over. His hair was disheveled, and he was wearing a simple gray robe. His eyes were gentle and he walked over barefoot. His feet were huge, and as he walked on the ground, it was as though he was the ruler of the entire heaven and earth. His aura wasn't tyrannical, but all the cultivators present could not help but have the urge to submit to him. Dongbua Shuiying immediately understood who he was. He was a legendary existence in the deity world and abyss, Monarch Green. Due to some mundane matters, I will be late today. Everyone, please forgive me. Star. Chapter 613. Monarch Green was the proudest disciple of Bloodblade. However, he had long left the Bloodshed God Palace and formed his own superpower. He had many powerful existences under him. Dongbua Shuiying had received detailed intelligence from Paragon Huachang and his teacher Bloodblade. He was clear of how formidable this eldest disciple brother of his, Monarch Green, was. His influence in the entire deity world and abyss was not any weaker than that of a ruler. He was even more influential than some rulers. Why was that? Because Monarch Green was similar to Bloodblade. He had opened a total of 3 Daos and had reached the bottleneck. He was just one step away from becoming a ruler. The combination of 3 Daos allowed Monarch Green to have no flaws. He was a terrifying paragon who could be called perfect. Bloody Ruler, Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and Empress Qian. He had only grasped a single Dao. Of course, they had all reached the ruler realm. And while Monarch Green's Daos were slightly weaker, he could coordinate all 3 Daos together. This made his combat power extremely formidable. Some paragons could escape from rulers, yet they were countered by Monarch Green. Monarch Green was confident of trapping and killing them. Monarch Green could similarly fight against rulers. He was too all-round. Every aspect was perfect. His 3 Daos were even more compatible than Bloodblade's 3 Daos. At the same time, Monarch Green was the only one in the entire deity world and abyss other than Bloodblade who had 3 bodies. Any one of his avatars was extremely powerful, yet he had a total of 3 bodies. Although Monarch Green did not occupy a territory, there were as many as 15 powerful experts under his banner. He had more than Empress Qian He and Primal Master. He was close to Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and Bloodblade. Empress Qian He's deterrence towards paragons was actually not as strong as Monarch Green. Primal Master was too aloof and too lazy to accept subordinates. Dongbua Shuiying had never heard of Primal Master's name before meeting Paragon Huachang. One could see how low-key he was. Thus, Monarch Green was vaguely the fourth superpower in the deity world. Senior brother Monarch Green, Dongbu Shuang, hurriedly stepped forward. He was very humble and polite, not daring to slack off in the slightest. The arrival of Qingjun was almost equivalent to the arrival of a ruler. Just by giving him face, he had to respect him even more. Junior brother Dongbu. Qingjun came barefooted and smiled. I have long heard of junior apprentice brother's name. Seeing you today, you are indeed extraordinary. Monarch Green was also observing this junior martial brother. It must be known that the Bloodblade sect had received many direct disciples in its history, but many of them did not have the opportunity to see Monarch Green. Qingjun was also too lazy to see them. After all, some of them might not necessarily be able to transcend. Even if they did, their future would probably be very ordinary. Qingjun simply looked down on them. But in the eyes of Qingjun, Dongbu Shuang was completely different. Firstly, Dongbu Shuang was the fastest person in history to become a world deity of the third heaven. To be able to break the record for cultivation speed in the entire history of the God realm, as long as he didn't die, he definitely wouldn't be mediocre. Secondly, Dongbu Shuang was the only member of the Army of Destruction apart from Pang Yi. In fact, this point made Monarch Green even more concerned. Monarch Green silently said in his heart. Pang Yi was a huge blow to him. One must know that when he, Monarch Green, rose to power, he did not place any paragons in his eyes at all. With a single punch, he heavily injured a peak paragon, Pang Yi. Monarch Green had the qualifications to be arrogant, but Pang Yi had quietly transformed. Pang Yi had once fought with Bloody Ruler, directly suppressing him and causing him to be injured. Monarch Green did not dare to believe it. He had sought out Pang Yi to fight. When the two fought, there were no spectators. But in this battle, Monarch Green revealed his monstrous strength. But when the two fought head-on, Pang Yi was not at a disadvantage. The two were unable to determine a victor. I can't defeat Nile, but he can. But he shouldn't have become a ruler yet. Master also said that Pang Yi's self-created cultivation technique is about to succeed. Once he succeeds, he will become a ruler. Even Master holds him in high esteem. I feel that I have reached the pinnacle in every aspect, but I still can't defeat a paragon. As a paragon, I went to the paradise of destruction, but I couldn't pass the test to become a soldier. But Pang Yi actually became a captain? Monarch Green was very proud. But Pang Yi had ruthlessly shattered his pride. Even the Stage 4 commander of the Army of Destruction highly admires Pang Yi. Monarch Green was also very amiable. Even the aura he emitted was not the slightest bit overbearing or oppressive. Not to mention the powerful existences present, even ordinary mortals would not be affected by it. But regardless of whether it was a weak creature or a powerful true divinity, they all had a kind of impulse to submit. Master told me that he accepted a very proud disciple, and told me to come and take a look when I have time. Monarch Green smiled. I'm just a Stage 4 world deity, and I haven't even transcended. Senior disciple brother, you don't have to praise me. Shuang let out a sigh of relief. Monarch Green had treated him quite well, and it wasn't that hard to get close to him. Monarch Green's gaze fell on Jingqiu. Junior brother Dongbu. This must be sister-in-law. Sister-in-law is also a Stage 4 world deity. Not bad, not bad. If you can transcend, you and your wife will be able to live forever. I'm afraid that countless cultivators in the entire deity world and abyss will be envious of you. Dongbu Shuang and Jingqiu looked at each other and smiled. But Dongbu Shuang knew that the information he collected recorded the history of Monarch Green's growth. Monarch Green had never had a wife. He was an expert who wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. Alright, since fifth martial uncle is here, I won't say much. Monarch Green said and walked to the side. Dongbu Shuang also immediately looked at the front door. Who? A phantom completely ignored the ceiling formation around the mansion built by Dongbu Shuang, and directly appeared from nothingness, appearing at the front door of Dongbu Shuang's mansion. Following that, the phantom flew in instantly. When the figure stopped, it was a seemingly ordinary black bird. But this black bird was looking at Dongbu Shuang with a quack-quack smile. Dongbu boy, not bad. You're also one of the top experts under your master. Hurry up and cultivate, so that you can transcend and become a venerable as soon as possible. You have to catch up with your senior brother Monarch Green. Fifth Martial Uncle, please come in. In cultivation, Dongbo will naturally do his best. Dongbo Shuiying said. The black bird smiled and grabbed at its body, pulling out a black feather. For your opening banquet, there are no other gifts, but I'll give you a feather. You have to prepare more delicious food this time. I don't care what other people eat, but I must eat the best. If there's anything delicious, just give it to me. I came here today for food. If there's nothing delicious, it would be a big loss for me to give you such a valuable gift. Dongbo Shuiying took the black feather. Fifth Martial Uncle, rest assured, I will definitely prepare the best food. After saying that, Dongbo Shuiying took the black feather. As soon as Dongbo Shuiying caught it, his palm went through the black feather. Don't use matter to catch it, use energy. The black bird said. Dongbo Shuiying seemed to understand. The luminous sun force in his body surged, and a layer of energy immediately appeared on the surface of his palm. He reached out and grabbed the black feather. The black bird laughed, flapped its wings, and flew towards the depths of the mansion. Almost all the guests have arrived, right? Jing Qiu, who was at the side, asked. Most of the world deities have arrived, and most of the powerful existences should be here as well, Dongbo Shuiying said. At the same time, he looked at the black feather in his hand carefully. This time the guests would usually give some gifts, but there were also people who would receive the gifts. When welcoming the guests, it was directly sent to Dongbo Shuiying. This black bird was the only one who did this. What kind of feather is this? Dongbo Shuiying felt that it was extraordinary. Chapter 6:14. Dongbo Shuiying tried to sense the black feather. His consciousness tried to penetrate it, but it was a blur. In the end, he still had to rely on his naked eyes to observe. Because of the extreme annihilation mysterious body, Dongbo Shuiying's body had been cultivated to an extremely tyrannical level. His eyes had also become even more unfathomable. Even a grain of sand would look like a huge star under his observation. Now that his body was even stronger than ordinary true gods, he could see through the particle level with his eyes. Under his observation, the black feather rapidly expanded in his field of vision, turning into a huge black feather land. This vast land was filled with countless black tubular objects. Countless thin tubes formed the huge land. Dongbo Shuiying's gaze continued to penetrate through the thin tubes. Hoo-hoo. Within the thin tubes, there was a void tunnel that led to another region. Within this void tunnel, there were faint patterns flowing about. These patterns were similar to the patterns on the talismans that led to the starting ground. Because his eyes were able to see through the black feather and see the interior of the void tubes that were billions and billions of times smaller, even Dongbo Shuiying's eyes started to feel blurry. He could also see the patterns vaguely. Dongbo Shuiying was slightly surprised. He then continued to inspect the other thin tubes. Every thin tube was a void tunnel. This feather is like a vast world. Within this vast world, there are billions and billions of void tube tunnels. Moreover, every single tube is unique. Dongbo Shuiying retracted his gaze and started to look at the entire black feather land. The entire feather land was made up of countless densely packed thin tubes. The land was incomparably stable. Countless black thin tubes formed a complete land. Such a structure was also a form of extreme beauty. It had already surpassed the scope of a formation. It was a form of natural beauty. Inconceivable. Unparalleled profundity. A thought surfaced in Dongbo Shuiying's mind. The void tunnel within the thin tubes was too blurry, and it was hard for him to comprehend anything. However, the internal structure of the black feather was much more perfect than the particles of his extreme annihilation mysterious body. This caused Dongbo Shuiying to have some thoughts. Snow eagle, snow eagle. Jing Qiu shouted from the side. Dongbo Shuiying regained his senses and kept the black feather. Fifth Uncle Master's gift is indeed special. How special is the feather? Jing Qiu was confused. I'll let you take a closer look after the banquet. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. He felt that if he had enough time, he would be able to comprehend some techniques from the black feather. After Uncle Master Blackbird arrived, no other powerful figures came. Dongbo Shuiying walked around and chatted with the powerful existences. When the banquet was ready, it officially started. Actually, most people did not care about eating and drinking at the opening banquet. This was a chance for the mighty figures to gather and interact. In the past, they were not familiar with each other, but after exchanging toasts and chatting casually, they naturally became familiar with each other. There were a total of 68 almighties attending the banquet. The seating arrangements were also randomly scattered in the garden, scattered in 2s and 3s, and there was no difference in height. However, humans were divided into groups of 2 or 3. Blackbird 5th Uncle Master Monarch Green Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Paragon Huachang Monarch Guzong Dongbua Shuiying Hall Master Bei Hu, and others were grouped together. Dongbua Shuiying was sandwiched between 2 groups of cultivators. On the other side were Chihua Laozu, Senior Apprentice Brother Huiming Jingqiu Monarch Mo Shui, Calm Sea Prefecture Master, and others who were close to him. Naturally, some of the weaker world deities like 7th Meiyu, Dongbua Qingyao, and the White Sand City Lord had to be arranged further away. If they were placed beside powerful existences, they would not be able to eat well. At the same time, at the center of the garden where the banquet was held, there were also some singing and dancing performances to liven things up. Senior Apprentice Brother Guzong, everyone says that you have been cultivating for a long time and rarely come out. Today is Junior Apprentice Brother's opening banquet. Junior Apprentice Brother is truly happy that Senior Apprentice Brother could attend. Let us drink a cup. Dongbua Shuiying said. Monarch Guzong was a handsome youth with a fair complexion. His body was emitting a heavy aura of death. Monarch Guzong smiled and raised his cup. Junior Apprentice Brother has done me such a great favor. How can I not come? Paragon Huachang observed from the side and was inwardly surprised. Guzong and Monarch Green don't seem to be close, but both of them seem to be very close to Brother Dongbua. How strange. It was indeed strange. Monarch Guzong and Monarch Green weren't sitting far from each other, but other than a few simple sentences, they did not converse. It was clear that they were not familiar with each other. I've never heard of any conflicts between these 2 senior apprentice brothers. Dongbua Shuiying had an even stronger feeling. The unfamiliarity between these 2 senior apprentice brothers was too obvious. He could not say anything and could only accompany his 2 senior apprentice brothers and his other friends. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, who was sitting on the other side, frowned as he glanced at Dongbua Shuiying, who was chatting with Monarch Green, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and Paragon Huachang. This Dongbua Shuiying actually has such a good relationship with Monarch Green, and the other 2. The 3 of them are in the top 20 of the Cosmos Deity Demon list. Monarch Green's power is even more unfathomable. He can kill me with a flip of his hand. But my big brother should be stronger than Monarch Green. Big brother has been pondering over his cultivation technique. Once he succeeds, humph. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament and Pang Yi were the earliest lifeforms in the divine world. Both of them were born in the divine world and were like brothers. It's just that big brother is weird. His temper has changed a lot. The banquet lasted for 3 days. To powerful cultivators, 3 days was a short period of time. They could casually chat for a few hours about a certain historical remnant. A short period of time was not enough to satisfy them. After chatting for a long time, they would naturally become familiar with each other. After the banquet ended, for example, Senior Uncle Blackbird, who ate from the beginning to the end, naturally left immediately. Monarch Green, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and some other powerful existences also started leaving. Dongbua Shuiying personally sent them off. Very soon, more than half of them had left. Senior Brother Huiming, Chihua Laozu, we can talk about our matters later. I will go and meet Old Ancestor Golden Firmament first. Dongbua Shuiying said. All right. Big Senior Brother Huiming nodded. You should go and deal with that Old Ancestor Golden Firmament first. He isn't someone to be trifled with. Chihua Laozu said. Now that they knew Jingqiu's identity, they naturally understood the conflict between Dongbua Shuiying and Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. In a quiet back garden, only Dongbua Shuiying and Old Ancestor Golden Firmament had wine flasks warming them. Dongbua Shuiying personally poured wine for them and said, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, you have spent hundreds of billions of years searching for the heartsword diagram. You have collected the other 4 fragments, and the last fragment is the last. You even spent a lot of effort to break the seal of the historical remnant, but in the end my wife obtained it. I can understand your anger. But Old Ancestor, You should also understand that my wife is also wronged. Did she do anything wrong? No, she only went to these ordinary and dangerous places to take a look, and inadvertently obtained the fragment of the heart sword diagram. You can even say that it was her luck that led to this. That's why you chased after her wantonly and wanted to search her soul. In the end, my wife was even forced to reincarnate. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament, you are bullying the weak. What? You want to avenge your wife? Old Ancestor Golden Firmament snorted coldly. Chapter 6:15. Dongbu Shuang finished pouring the wine and pushed the cup towards Patriarch Golden Firmament. Have a drink first. This is the 100-fruit wine unique to my hometown, the Xia people's world. It is brewed meticulously from 100 different fruits and has a unique taste. In the end, Patriarch Golden Firmament still picked up the cup and took a sip. It's average, but it still has the taste of the material realm. Dongbu Shuang smiled and continued, Patriarch, you say that I'm avenging my wife? Haha, if I, Dongbu Shuang, had master strength, I might really kill you in a fit of rage. Oh, Patriarch Golden Firmament's face darkened. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of strength. Shuang chuckled. Even though everyone can understand Forefather's feelings, Forefather, if you think about this matter carefully, you should know that my wife is the most innocent one. That time, she did not have the heart to go against Forefather, and did not dare to go against Forefather. It's a pity that time cannot be reversed, and she was forced to choose to reincarnate. Patriarch Golden Firmament listened with a gloomy expression. However, he had to admit that from Yu Jingqiu's point of view, she was indeed wronged. She was forced into a dead end and had to choose the path of death. Reincarnation. You say that I, Dongbu Shuang, am not angry? Not holding a grudge? Do you believe me, Patriarch? Dongbu Shuang looked at Patriarch Golden Firmament. You can take revenge all you want. Patriarch Golden Firmament snorted. Unfortunately, you don't have that kind of strength. My wife successfully reincarnated and got to know me. From a different perspective, you played a part in our fate. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Since you and I can't do anything to each other, why don't we both take a step back and end this feud? Patriarch, you must not use this against the people of my Celestial Emperor residence in the future. I will take a step back as well, and I will not use this against you in the future. Patriarch Golden Firmament frowned. Oh, what if I don't take a step back? Dongbu Shuang continued pouring wine as he said calmly, then we can only be enemies. Although his voice was calm, it was cold. He, Dongbu Shuang, was not someone who was afraid of trouble. In terms of strength, his current ranking was slightly higher than Forefather Golden Firmament's. In terms of background, his teacher Bloodblade was ranked first on the Cosmos Deity Demon list. He was much stronger than Pang Yi. Furthermore, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master owed him a huge favor, and Paragon Huachang was also his life and death brother. If they were to really become enemies, Dongbu Shuang would naturally not be afraid. Come. When Dongbu Shuang was done pouring the wine, he pushed the cup back to Forefather Golden Firmament and said, finish this cup, and the enmity will be over. No one can continue to pester me. Patriarch Golden Firmament looked at Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang was also looking at him. Ha ha ha. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament laughed. Good. The mysterious Lady Star Sword has indeed found herself a good husband after reincarnating. With that, he raised his wine cup. Dongbu Shuang smiled and raised his cup. The two drank at the same time. Let's end this matter here. I shall take my leave first. Forefather Golden Firmament stood up. My wife is also comprehending the remnant piece of the heart sword diagram. When she has comprehended enough, I will pass her comprehension to Forefather. Dongbu Shuang stood up. When Forefather Golden Firmament heard this, he looked at Dongbu Shuang and nodded. All right. When the time comes, I will pass you a copy of the heart sword diagram that I have comprehended. With that, Forefather Golden Firmament turned and left. Dongbu Shuang watched silently and revealed a smile. He was clear that the two of them had something they were wary of. The other party was wary of Dongbu Shuang's strength. If they really fell out with each other, with Dongbu Shuang's growth speed, he would definitely step into the Paragon realm. Moreover, he was also a member of the Army of Destruction. By then, Forefather Golden Firmament's days would be even harder. After all, Dongbu Shuang was comparable to him, but how many years had he cultivated? This kind of person was indeed not suitable to be an enemy. Dongbu Shuang was also wary of him. What he was afraid of was that once he shed all pretense of cordiality, Dongbo Yu and Qing Yao would most likely suffer a calamity. Furthermore, he was not sure if he could kill Forefather Golden Firmament. After all, ordinary paragons could not kill Forefather Golden Firmament. His escape technique was too powerful. Both sides were wary of him. This was also the main reason why they could reconcile. However, Forefather Golden Firmament was a creature from the immortal world. He was naturally ferocious. If they did not give him a way out, Forefather Golden Firmament would still fall out with him. Hence, Dongbu Shuang repeatedly said that Yu Jingqiu was the most innocent. He, Dongbu Shuang, had already made a big concession so that Forefather Golden Firmament could accept it. This kind of escape technique is extremely powerful, and he has a strong background. Moreover, he has nothing to worry about. If he goes crazy, it will be a headache. Dongbu Shuang nodded slightly. Both sides did not make any vows. At their level, promises were very important. Moreover, both sides were not willing to be enemies. Of course, if a supreme treasure appeared, they would still fall out with each other. For the sake of a supreme treasure, the Temporal Island Lord, Empress Qian He, and the myriad god palace head would fall out with each other and plot against ruler Nile and Blood Blade. Dongbu Shuang headed towards the garden where eldest senior Huiming and Qihua Laozu were. Along the way, Master, a man and a woman rushed over respectfully. The man was tall and skinny with a pale face, while the woman had enchanting red hair. White bones, Shueman, what's the matter? Dongbu Shuang looked at the two. This man was the treasure spirit of the Howling Devil cult leaders Eden. Dongbu Shuang named him White Bones. As for this enchanting red-haired woman, she was transformed from the blood-creeping flower. Because Dongbu Shuang's strength and treasures had increased greatly, he naturally began to nurture the absolutely loyal blood-creeping flower. With the amount of treasures Dongbu Shuang had, he could easily allow the blood-creeping flower to evolve and enter the world deity stage. Most likely, the blood-creeping flower would grow to the same level as the sky-reaching vine in the future. To become even stronger? That would be too difficult. Shueman immediately obediently took out a scroll with both hands. Master, this is the list of gifts. Oh! Dongbu Shuang stretched out his hand to receive it. The gifts were mainly received by Shueman and White Bones. After receiving them, they would directly place them into the Eden treasure. The Eden treasure was carried by Dongbu Shuang at all times. Only the treasure spirit, White Bones, could directly place the treasures into the Eden treasure. Even though he had received so many gifts, firstly, he had yet to check them all. Secondly, Dongbu Shuang had asked White Bones, Shueman and the rest to come up with a list of gifts. After all, the gifts were important. In the future, if he had important matters to attend to, the gifts he gave must not be too light. Hua! He opened the scroll. On the scroll, the gifts given by Monarch Green, Paragon Huachang, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and the rest were recorded in detail. Of course, the gift from Senior Uncle Blackbird, the Black Feather, was given to Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang looked at the records on the scroll and smiled. The records were quite interesting. For example, Monarch Green's gift was described as a palm-sized sculpture invisible to the naked eye. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's gift was described as a circular plate with decorative designs. These were all simple descriptions. As for what use they had, what kind of treasures were they? After all, the knowledge of the treasure spirit and the blood-creeping flower was limited. However, as long as they could let Dongbu Shuang know which treasures were given by whom, it would be sufficient. Eldest senior brother is truly considerate. Even though Dongbu Shuang had yet to check them one by one, Monarch Green's gift was indeed very special. It was invisible to the naked eye, but through the heaven and earth energy he could check it. It was a palm-sized sculpture of a human figure sitting cross-legged. After pondering for a while, Dongbu Shuang already understood what kind of treasure it was. Naturally, he also understood Monarch Green's intentions. Chapter 6:16. Dongbu Shuang wasn't in a hurry to check the gift. After keeping the scroll, He immediately went to see big senior brother Huiming and Chihua Laozu. The moment he entered the garden, he saw big senior brother Huiming and Chihua Laozu sitting there chatting. Senior brother Huiming, old ancestor. Dongbu Shuang smiled as he walked over. Snow Eagle, sit. Chihua Laozu said. Dongbu Shuang sat down as well. He looked at big senior brother Huiming and said, "Oh right, senior brother. I don't know much about old ancestor Black Devil. However, if there's a chance, we should think of a way to kill both his main body and his avatar. If we want to make a move, we must do it cleanly." Huiming shook his head and said, "Master is like a father to me. How could I dare to forget Master's enmity? It's just that old ancestor Black Devil is too cautious and cunning. Ever since you became the personal disciple of Bloodblade, one of his avatars has been staying in the Temporal Island. One of the clones of the Black Devil ancestor has been staying in the Temporal Island for a long time. Tell me, what can we do?" "He has been staying in the Temporal Island?" Dongbu Shuang was startled. The Temporal Island was the place where the Temporal Island Lord stayed. It was the base that the Temporal Island Lord had been managing for many years. The place was filled with danger and the Temporal Island Lord could display even greater strength there. Even someone as strong as Bloodblade would have to be mentally prepared to lose one of his avatars if he dared to kill his way in. "Then is there any way to lure his main body out?" Dongbu Shuang asked. Old ancestor Black Devil wasn't considered strong. If they were to fight, Dongbu Shuang had the confidence to kill him. "It's impossible." Huiming shook his head. "Aha, it's impossible." Chihua Laozu added, "Snow Eagle, you have never interacted with Black Devil. This old ancestor Black Devil is cunning and sinister. He is cautious and afraid of death. When you became the personal disciple of God Emperor, you were only a stage 2 world deity, right? Therefore, he cautiously decided to stay in the Temporal Island for a long period of time. Logically speaking, his place of cultivation was also within the territory of the Temporal Island. With the strength of the Temporal Island Lord, he could travel through time and space and arrive at his place of cultivation in the blink of an eye. However, he still moved to the Temporal Island. Dongbu Shuang frowned. "Also, did you realize that after you became God Emperor's personal disciple, he has never acted against you? He didn't even act against your children and wife." Chihua Laozu said. Dongbu Shuang nodded his head. "He looks down on me, he looks down on Huiming. But he's afraid of you." Chihua Laozu shook his head. "When you became a disciple of Bloodblade, the first time you revealed your strength was that of a stage 2 world deity. You're also a lord of the material world, so he won't have the chance to get rid of you. I could only watch helplessly as you became stronger and stronger. So I decided not to provoke you and didn't dare to use any tricks. I was afraid of angering you and making your killing intent even stronger." Chihua Laozu laughed. "Honestly speaking, you and Hongchan have no feelings for each other. And your killing intent towards Black Demon isn't that strong either. Am I right?" Dongbu Shuang was stunned for a moment, then nodded his head to admit this point. Indeed. After all, he had never met Holy Lord Hongchan. In fact, if Holy Lord Hongchan hadn't thrown the Crimson Rock Mountain into the Xia people's world, the Sorcerer God and the Great Demon God wouldn't have schemed against the Xia people's world. The Xia people's world wouldn't have suffered so many disasters, Dongbu Shuang wouldn't have been poisoned by the Six Ghosts' resentment, and his wife wouldn't have nearly died. So Dongbu Shuang felt rather awkward towards Holy Lord Hongchan. It could only be said that Dongbu Shuang acknowledged this kindness. As for killing Forefather Black Demon other than karma, the main reason was that Forefather Black Demon was a person who wouldn't shrink from any crime. Dongbu Shuang's killing intent was most likely due to Forefather Black Demon being too evil. If Hongchan was evil and Forefather Black Demon was benevolent, Dongbu Shuang would not have acted. That bit of karma did not affect him too much. Your killing intent isn't strong, and he isn't willing to provoke you. Thus, the chances of you acting are lower. Chihua Laozu said. Even so, one of his avatars is still hiding in the Temporal Island. Indeed, he is cunning and cautious. Dongbu Shuang nodded. If he wasn't crafty, how could he have schemed against Red Dust, causing Reddist's true body to be destroyed? Patriarch Scarlet Flame shook his head. AI Red Dust is too arrogant. He wasn't willing to join the Sovereign. If he were to rely on the Bloodblade, allowing one of his avatars to live within the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. The Blood Blade could instantly appear to protect him. How could Forefather Black Demon kill him then? Dongbo Shuang nodded. This was the benefit of relying on a ruler. A ruler could not protect him at all times. But as long as he was within a certain range, a ruler could appear instantaneously. Relying on a ruler will allow you to enjoy the benefits, but you have to pay a price too. Chihua Laozu said, you are his disciple, and he doesn't have any requests for you. But most powerful existences, such as the Bloodshed Tavern Master, or helping the Bloodshed God Emperor collect many materials regardless, they would have long-term missions, and they would have to serve the God Emperor. Everyone has their own choices. Huiming said since teacher chose this path, he is naturally willing to bear the burden. Forefather Black Demon is cunning, and killing him is extremely difficult. Furthermore, junior disciple brother, you have many things to worry about. If you can't kill Black Demon, you might end up causing trouble in the future. Dongbo Shuang nodded. His wife and children were indeed his worries, and those powerful existences who had lived for a long time had no worries. I can only put this matter aside for now. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself. Facing such a cunning forefather Black Demon, even a paragon would not have the chance to kill him, much less him. Just as Dongbo Shuang decided to give up, he suddenly understood. What a Black Demon! He didn't anger me in the slightest, which means that I won't have any killing intent. If Black Demon kept scheming against me, for example my family etc., I would truly be enraged. But if Dongbo Shuang went crazy, he wouldn't do such a thing. Even if he hid in the temporal island, the Bloodblade was the #1 assassin in the deity world and abyss. If he wanted to assassinate Black Demon, he should be able to do so even if he had to sacrifice a clone. However, the price was huge. Dongbo Shuang was a Bloodblade Tavern Master. He was very clear about the price one had to pay to hire the God Emperor to kill a powerful existence. Most likely, a paragon would have to use up all of his treasures. However, others would have to pay a huge price, but Dongbo Shuang was a personal disciple. If he was truly enraged, the God Emperor would sympathize with him and might lower his request and help him once. This was also the reason why Black Demon didn't provoke Dongbo Shuang at all. Although Dongbo Shuang understood, he didn't have any killing intent. After all, an enemy who knew when to advance and retreat, and didn't come looking for trouble was hard to provoke. Black Demon was cautious and cunning. He didn't leave any chances. Even big senior brother Huiming, who had deep feelings for Hong Chun, put everything aside. Oh right, forefather. Dongbo Shuang looked at Chihua Laozu. You said you have something to say? Huiming also looked at Chihua Laozu. I hesitated and didn't want to say it. Chihua Laozu's face was slightly red. However, this is very important to me. Snow Eagle, you are strong enough now. Therefore, I still thicken my face to trouble you. Of course, Snow Eagle, if you helped me, you would have repaid the karma of me helping you back then. What karma? If forefather didn't help me back then, my entire life would have been ruined. Dongbo Shuang said. Forefather, your problem is my problem. Moreover, don't feel that it's troublesome. I'm a material world overlord. I don't have any true danger of dying. Why would I be afraid of trouble? Chihua Laozu was even more moved. For example, Dongbo Shuang and Paragon Huachang, they were people who would repay a huge favor with their bodies. They wouldn't care if it ended after repaying the karma. Even if the karma of the laws of the heaven and earth was repaid, the karma in their hearts was still there. Back then, Dongbo Shuang had truly despaired. When Chihua Laozu helped him, his life was filled with color once again. It's like this. Chihua Laozu didn't hesitate and said, you all know that I often cultivate in the Sun Star. Dongbo Shuang and big senior brother Huiming were both listening. The Sun Star is in existence on the same level as the Dark Abyss and the material world. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets. Even rulers would be burned to death if they dared to enter the core of the Sun Star. Chihua Laozu started explaining everything. Chapter 6:17. As Dongbo Shuang grew stronger, Paragon Huachang and Bloodblade provided him with a large amount of information, allowing him to understand more about the Sun Star and Moon Star. The Sun Star and Moon Star both had their own laws of nature, and their tyrannical laws were not any weaker than those of the material world or the dark abyss. Moreover, they were very different from the material world and the dark abyss, because the material world and the dark abyss were essentially cradles that nurtured countless life forms, while the material world protected countless weak life forms. Although the dark abyss was more evil and savage, it also gave birth to countless demons. Even outsiders would be repelled when they entered, and the life forms within the dark abyss would be led to kill them. But the sun star and moon star were different. They were not suitable for living beings. In fact, they went to the extremes and were extremely aggressive. Forget about going deeper. Just the surface layer was enough to freeze stage 4 world deities to death or burn them to death. The deeper one went, the more dangerous it became. Even rulers would eventually lose their lives. It could be said that the danger far exceeded any ancient ruin. They were naturally born from the vast universe. They were the two celestial bodies that stood on the same level as the material world and the dark abyss. Their might was beyond imagination, and they attracted the attention of powerful true gods. The sun star represents the pinnacle of fire, and the laws it contains are even stronger than rulers. Qihua Laozu said, but if one is merely on the surface of the sun star, the laws one can sense are the most indistinct. The deeper one goes, the clearer the feeling becomes. According to what I know, the outermost layer of the sun star is the raging flames on its surface. What looks like raging flames is actually liquid. This is the first layer of the sun star, which we call the sun sea. The sun sea is incomparably hot, and most powerful existences are confident of surviving in it. After passing through the sun sea, one can finally reach the thick solid layer. The strange substance in the solid layer is called sunstone. This layer is the second layer of the sun star, the sunstone layer. The sunstone layer is much more dangerous, and even powerful existences would find it hard to survive the occasional strand of flame. Not to mention the many other dangers. Legend has it that below the sunstone layer, there is a third layer, the sun wave layer. Below that, there is a fourth layer, the void black mud layer. Further down is the fifth layer, the sun abyssal pond. In the deepest part of the sun abyssal pond is the legendary sixth layer, the sun star core. Qihua Laozu said slowly, but there was a hint of anticipation in his voice. He had been cultivating on the solar star for a very long time. The solar star was practically his home. Dongbu Shuiying and eldest senior brother Huiming were listening at the side. They knew this too. I originally had a sun star nucleus stone, Qihua Laozu said in a low voice. With the help of the sun star nucleus stone, I can protect my body, greatly reducing the damage that the flames can do to my body. Although I didn't dare to venture deep into the sunstone layer, I could at least use the sunstar core stone to sit cross-legged on the surface of the sunstone layer. When I touch the sunstone layer, I can sense the many laws and profound mysteries of the sun star dozens of times more clearly, which will greatly increase my cultivation speed. The sunstar nucleus stone is extremely precious. Not a single one has appeared in the past 100 billion years. Qihua Laozu said, from the birth of the universe until now, the total number of sun-star nucleus stones that have appeared is extremely small. Those who obtained it would view it as a treasure. Even paragons and rulers would rarely exchange for the sun-star nucleus stone. Dongbu Shuiying and Huiming nodded. But, 30 million years ago, the bamboo saint of the two saints of the ink race found out that I had a sun-star nucleus stone. He suddenly attacked me, destroyed my body that was cultivating on the solar star, and snatched my sun-star nucleus stone. Qihua Laozu said in a low and calm voice. He looked calm, but it was clear that he was suppressing his boundless rage. Cultivation was about fighting for opportunities. Qihua Laozu's most precious treasure was snatched away. Such a huge enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. Bamboo saint? Dongbu Shuiying frowned. The two saints of the ink race were powerful existences that didn't rely on any forces in the deity world. Among them, the bamboo saint was considered slightly better. He was ranked 53rd on the Cosmos deity demon list. He was one rank lower than Dongbu Shuiying, and their strength was on the same level. But the one who truly established the position of the two saints of the ink race was the eldest, the leaf saint. He was a paragon, even though he was an ordinary paragon, and couldn't be compared to Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master or Mysterious North Imperial Empress. But the Tao that he opened was slightly more peculiar and unique. It allowed Leaf Saint to be free and unfettered, and didn't need to rely on any forces. The two of them came from the same race, and their relationship was extremely good. "Forefather, what do you want me to do?" Dongbu Shuiying asked. If he wanted to deal with the Bamboo Saint, just him alone wouldn't be able to deal with the other party. Even if they fought, the other party had an even stronger paragon behind his back. "I don't want to take revenge," Chihua Laozu said. "The difference in strength is too great, and the one behind him is even more powerful. What I want to do is to obtain another Sun Star Nucleus Stone. The flame is what I've been pursuing for countless years. If I can open a Dao, it will definitely be on the Dao of Flames. Without the Sun Star Nucleus Stone, I don't even dare to touch the Sunstone layer. I can only cultivate in the sun seawater. My senses are too blurry, and my cultivation efficiency isn't even 1,000th of what it used to be. If I continue cultivating like this, it will be impossible for me to break through. Among those that I know and have a good relationship with, only you, Dongbua, can help me obtain another Sun Star Nucleus Stone." From Chihua Laozu's point of view, Dongbua Shuiying's strength and connections were much stronger than his. He had the blood blade behind his back, and he had a good relationship with Monarch Green, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Paragon Huachang, and others. His connections were 10 times, 100 times stronger than his. Obtain a Sun Star Nucleus Stone? Dongbua Shuiying frowned. This was a huge problem for him. There are 2 ways to obtain a Sun Star Nucleus Stone, Dongbua Shuiying said. The first way is that the Sun Star Nucleus Stone originates from the deepest part of the Sun Star, the Sun Star Nucleus. Usually, after countless years, fragments of the Sun Star Nucleus would occasionally fly out, passing through the Sun Abyss, passing through the void black soil layer, and being discovered by cultivators. Chihua Laozu nodded. Back then I was lucky enough to discover a unique glow on the surface of the Sun Star Nucleus. I controlled my weapon to dig it out, and that was how I found the Sun Star Nucleus Stone. That Sun Star Nucleus Stone was about the size of a fingernail, and weighed about half a kilogram. That's because of your good luck, forefather. It should be some fragment that was coincidentally shifted to the surface of the Sun Star Nucleus Stone, Dongbua Shuiying said. But it's almost impossible to find another one like that. After all, it has been over 100 billion years since a Sun Star Nucleus Stone has appeared. Or perhaps some powerful existence managed to obtain it by luck, but didn't make it public. But no matter what, no one would be willing to trade it, Dongbua Shuiying said. In that case, there's only one other way. Using a large amount of void black soil, to refine the void black soil and condense its essence into a Sun Star Nucleus Stone, Dongbua Shuiying said. This was also discovered by the cultivators of the deity realm and abyss. The void black soil was the 4th layer of the Sun Star Nucleus Stone. The void black soil itself was extremely aggressive, and its heat was so intense that only sovereigns could withstand it. However, once it was refined, its essence would condense into a solid form, and it would become a Sun Star Nucleus Stone. Chihua Laozu felt slightly ashamed. I know it's difficult and I've been hesitating for a long time. But as time passed and there was no longer any hope of cultivating, I decided to be thick-skinned. Forefather, there's no need to say any more. Leave this matter to me, Dongbua Shuiying said. Although it would be troublesome, this was the first time Chihua Laozu had spoken. Furthermore, it involved the forefather's path of cultivation. No matter what, he had to help. Chapter 618. Hearing Dongbua Shuiying agree, Chihua Laozu heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time he said, the price to condense it into a Sun Star Nucleus Stone is huge. I will bear all the treasures required. If I can't, I will ask Snow Eagle for help. No need, Dongbua Shuiying said. Chihua Laozu's expression darkened. Snow Eagle, I know that you will need many favors in order to accomplish this. You might even need to pay a special price that cannot be compared to some treasures. If you want me to do nothing, I would rather not have the Sun Star Nucleus Stone. Dongbua Shuiying was stunned. He understood that as a powerful existence, he had his pride. Chihua Laozu came to ask for help because of his cultivation. But if he asked Dongbua Shuiying to pay for the treasures, it would hurt his pride. All right. Dongbua Shuiying smiled and nodded. Since forefather said so, I will listen to you. In terms of treasures, even though Qihua Laozu had been accumulating for a long time, Dongbu Shuiying's foundation was much deeper. Disregarding the true god weapon flying knife, the original copy of the absolute art blood demon scripture, the talisman, the feather given by fifth master uncle, and other precious treasures. For this opening feast, the gifts they gave were not light. Stage 4 world deities gave at least a few 100 million god crystals. True gods naturally gave more. Monarch Green, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and Paragon Huachang were ranked in the top 20 of the Cosmos Deity Demon list. Their gifts were even more extraordinary. All of these added up was terrifying. But Dongbu Shuiying was currently extremely powerful. He had the combat power of a paragon. Since he was strong, these gifts were merely icing on the cake. It was a normal courtesy to reciprocate. Just like back then when Dongbu Shuiying was still a supervisor and his abilities were still relatively weak, those stage 4 world deities wanted to form a relationship with him. They sent a large number of gifts to Dongbu Shuiying. But Dongbu Shuiying did not dare to accept them. At that time, Dongbu Shuiying's strength was still weak. At that time, Dongbu Shuiying gave him hundreds of millions of divinity crystals as a gift, which was a huge favor. But now, to Dongbu Shuiying, a gift of a few 100 million deity crystals was nothing. The fact that Dongbu Shuiying was willing to accept him and allow him to attend the banquet meant that he was giving him face. Many world gods were not qualified to participate in the opening banquet. Of course, it was also the opening banquet where everyone came to congratulate him. If it was an ordinary banquet, there was no need to give gifts. Moreover, it was only Dongbu Shuiying. If it was an ordinary stage for universe god who transcended and became an almighty, there wouldn't be too many almighties who came to congratulate him, and the gifts they gave wouldn't be too expensive. Gifting was also dependent on the target. "Oh right, Senior Huiming, forefather," Dongbu Shuiying said. "Both of you know that I have obtained the original copy of the first half of the blood demon scripture." Amen. Qihua Laozu and Huiming heard Dongbu Shuiying's words and had their own guesses. "Do you want to learn this blood demon scripture?" Dongbu Shuiying smiled and asked. "Let me say this in advance. There are two ways to learn this blood demon scripture. The first method requires the support of countless souls and is extremely evil. Moreover, it would be hard for one to achieve much in the future by relying on this shortcut. The second method is to rely on one's own cultivation. If you want to learn it, you can only rely on the second method." There weren't many who were qualified for him to impart the blood demon scripture to them. Even if he did, Dongbu Shuiying forbade the first method. This was because he wasn't willing to impart the blood demon scripture himself and bring about countless sins. "This old man will be thick-skinned and learn it." Qihua Laozu smiled and said, "I might be able to gain an epiphany if I try to comprehend it." "I'll pass." Senior brother Huiming smiled and said. Dongbu Shuiying and Qihua Laozu looked at Huiming in astonishment. Not learning it. It was an absolute art that came knocking on his door. Not learning it. "Huiming, you can use it as a reference even if you don't cultivate it." Qihua Laozu persuaded. "It might be of help to you in your transcendence." "There's no need." Huiming shook his head. "The blood demon scripture is one of the 6 great legacies of the fiend ancestor. It is extremely evil and not suitable for me. My current realm is not high enough. It's best that I don't read it." "The 6 great legacies of the fiend ancestor? Who is the fiend ancestor?" Qihua Laozu asked curiously. Dongbu Shuiying was secretly astonished. This senior brother Huiming actually knew about the fiend ancestor? "Patriarch, you should know that our vast universe is not just limited to our epoch." Huiming looked at Qihua Laozu. "I've heard of that before." Qihua Laozu nodded. "Everything has a beginning and an end. The universe also has epochs." Huiming nodded. "In the many epochs of the universe there are 2 most impressive ones. One is the owner of Lake Heart Island and the other is the fiend ancestor." "I've heard of the owner of Lake Heart Island. There's actually another fiend ancestor that is on par with him?" Qihua Laozu nodded. Dongbu Shuiying silently watched his senior brother. Senior brother Huiming actually knew so many secrets. He probably had some fortuitous encounters. On the same day, Qihua Laozu first swore an oath before learning the first half of the blood demon scripture. As for Huiming, he bade farewell and left. There were not many people who learned the blood demon scripture. Monarch Mo Shui's true deity heart was not far from collapsing, and he was about to reincarnate. Jing Qiu had already spoken up for her father. Dongbu Shuang did not hesitate and allowed his father-in-law to learn the first half of the blood demon scripture. But even if he learned it, Dongbu Shuang guessed that it would not be of much help to him in transcending. Other than that, Jing Qiu and the White Sand City Lord also learned it. As for the others, including his children, he did not teach them. This was because the blood demon scripture was different from other absolute arts. It was extremely difficult to learn. Even with the Howling Devil cult leader's strength and the help of countless souls, he still had to spend a long time to learn it. One could see how difficult it was to learn it. Dongbu Shuang felt that it was not suitable to teach it to his children. As for the White Sand City Lord, his old brother White Sand was getting old and he might not be able to reach the 4th layer in this lifetime. Regardless of whether it was useful or not, he should learn it first. Big brother Huacheng. Dongbu Shuang immediately went to see Paragon Huacheng. Paragon Huacheng did not leave after the banquet and was currently staying in his mansion. Paragon Huacheng was sitting on a chair, his right hand lightly tapping on the armrest as he hummed softly with his eyes narrowed. The red-haired, red-browed, red-skinned Paragon Huacheng seemed to be in an extremely good mood. He raised his head and saw Dongbu Shuang approaching. He revealed a smile. Brother Dongbu, have you settled the matter with Golden Firmament? Even if you did not look for me, I would have looked for you. The matter with old ancestor Golden Firmament has been settled. Actually, he is not willing to shed all pretense of cordiality with me. Dongbu Shuang also sat at the side. I wonder why Big Brother Huacheng is looking for me? Haha, when I was strolling around your mansion, I met your daughter and even gave her some pointers. She actually told me that she wants to take me as her master. But I also feel that this lass is not bad. I wonder if Brother Dongbu is willing to let your daughter take me as her master. Paragon Huacheng laughed. Dongbu Shuang was overjoyed and said, that is exactly what I wish for. That is exactly what I wish for. Regarding the matter of his children taking him as their master, Dongbu Shuang and his wife had discussed it before. They did not care about ordinary powerful existences. After all, it was not too bad for them to teach their own children, unless it was a personal disciple of a paragon or a powerful existence. But this was too difficult. I hope that Big Brother Huacheng will give more pointers to Qingyao in the future, and bear with this child. Her temperament is a little overbearing. Dongbu Shuang pleaded. Haha, how can you talk to your daughter like that? I feel that your daughter's temperament is not bad. Paragon Huacheng said, since you have agreed, then this matter is decided. I will definitely teach her with all my heart. But as for how I teach her, Brother Dongbu, don't blame me. Your disciple doesn't need to care about me. Dongbu Shuang immediately said. Paragon Huacheng nodded. Oh right, you came to look for me. Is there something you need? There is. Dongbu Shuang said. It's about the void black soil. Asterisk the first was even worse. Chapter 619. Void Black Soil. Paragon Huacheng looked curiously at Dongbu Shuang. I want to get a Sunstar Nucleus Stone. There's no other way. I have to refine it from the Void Black Soil. Dongbu Shuang explained. This Void Black Soil, I would like to ask Big Brother Huacheng for help. Paragon Huacheng frowned. The Void Black Soil is just a small matter, not worth mentioning. But to refine it, the void black soil is just the most basic material. I still need 12 other precious materials. I also need to invite experts to refine it bit by bit. But other than that, what else can I do? Is there anyone willing to trade for the Sunstar Nucleus Stone? Dongbu Shuang said helplessly. Paragon Huacheng nodded. The Sunstar Nucleus Stone, other than the hard work of refining, came from the Sunstar Nucleus. That was the most terrifying and dangerous place. Even rulers would be instantly turned to dust. The Sunstar Nucleus Stone was extremely precious. Just the size of a fingernail was enough for many powerful existences to exchange for it. It was much more precious than Eden treasures. So when Chihua Laozu opened his mouth, he felt a little ashamed. He really had no other way. Only Dongbu Shuang had some hope. I've never heard of anyone willing to trade. I originally had one. But it was a pity that my true body died and I lost it. Paragon Huachang said, forget about the trade. Even if someone was willing, the price would be ridiculously high. Right. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. There are 3 problems in refining it. 1 is sufficient void black soil, 2 are 12 precious materials, and 3 is to find experts to refine it. Paragon Huachang said, amongst them, the void black soil is the easiest, the 12 precious materials are slightly more troublesome, and finding experts to refine it is the most troublesome. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. I'll settle them one by one. Leave the void black soil to me. How much do you need? Paragon Huachang asked. At least 5 million kilograms of void black soil. Shuiying said. Only 5 million kilograms of void black soil could condense a fingernail-sized sun-star nucleus stone weighing half a kilogram. I'll give you 20 million. Paragon Huachang said straightforwardly. Thanks. Dongbua Shuiying smiled. We are brothers, there's no need to thank me. This is very simple for me. Paragon Huachang smiled. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. The best way to obtain the black void mud was to enter the 4th layer of the sunstar, the black void mud layer. There was black void mud everywhere, and one could get as much as they wanted. Based on the level of danger, the 4th layer of the sunstar, the void black mud layer, was something that only hegemons could safely survive in. They wouldn't have to worry about the flames that were born from the void black mud. However, there were some top-notch supremacies who could enter the void black soil layer of the sunstar. For example, Qing Jun. He could do it. For example, amongst the peak paragons, Paragon Huachang, who was most proficient in flames, could also do it. For Paragon Huachang, entering the void black soil stratum was simply like returning home. It was easy and relaxed. Therefore, gathering 10 million kilograms of void black soil only required a little more time. Gathering the 12 precious materials might be more troublesome. Paragon Huachang said. Inviting experts to temper them would be even more troublesome. Other than Bloodblade and Empress Qian He, only Ripple Lady Planet Lord who is most proficient in refining knows how to temper. Tempering is an extremely complicated matter. Moreover, during the tempering process, one must be fully focused and cannot relax. Once one relaxes, the tempering will fail. Inviting a ruler would probably be very difficult. Otherwise, we can only invite Ripple Lady Planet Lord. However, she is the only paragon under Empress Qian He, and Empress Qian He dotes on her a lot. She spends most of her time refining artifacts, and rarely goes out. She is very cold to other cultivators, so it would be difficult to invite her. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. This was indeed the greatest difficulty. Inviting a ruler? Although his master treated him very well, no matter how good he was, he couldn't rely on his master's doting on him and ask him to do this and that. This would only make his master loathe him. After all, giving him an inch and asking for a foot was already a very overboard thing. Between powerful existences, there was more emphasis on fair trade. If he wanted something, he had to pay a price. When the time comes, I'll go pay a visit to Ripple Lady Planet Lord. Dongbua Shuiying said. Everything can be discussed. Mn. Gather the 12 precious materials first. Once you're done, go see Ripple Lady Planet Lord. Paragon Huachang said. I'll make a trip to the Sunstar tomorrow. I've troubled Big Brother. Dongbua Shuiying thanked him. That night, under the witness of Dongbua Shuiying, Jingqiu, Monarch Mo Shui, Chihua Laozu, White Sand City Lord and others, Dongbua Qingyao officially acknowledged Paragon Huachang as his master, becoming his disciple. Ha ha ha, although I've accepted 2 disciples before, I didn't have the patience to teach them. They didn't become powerful existences and died long ago. Paragon Huachang sat there, looking at Dongbua Qingyao who was kowtowing to him. He laughed. I've been imprisoned on the island in the heart of the lake for a long time, and my patience has been honed. Qingyao, you're my only disciple now. You have to work hard and cultivate to become a powerful existence. Only then will I, as his master, and your father be able to gain face. Yes, master. Dongbua Qingyao immediately replied. Mn. Master doesn't have any other gifts for you. This is a treasure I chanced upon in the ancient cave dwelling. I'll give it to you for protection. As Paragon Huachang spoke, he threw out a red pearl. Dongbua Qingyao stretched out her hand to receive it. The moment she tried to refine it, the red pearl immediately transformed into a blurry red light that enveloped Dongbua Qingyao's entire body, transforming into a fiery red robe. Dongbua Shuiying and Jingqiu watched happily from the side. The path of cultivation was bumpy, and although they were strong now, it was hard to say what would happen in the future. To be able to let their daughter become the disciple of such a powerful master, both of them were extremely satisfied. Monarch Mo Shui was all smiles. Even Dongbua Yu, who had been feeling lonely recently, revealed a smile at this moment. On the second day, Paragon Huachang, who had just taken in a disciple, quietly left for the Sun Star. And Dongbua Shuiying first started to gather precious materials through Bloodshed Tavern. Bloodshed Tavern's information network was also rather good, and very quickly, they had gathered 7 of the precious materials. As for the remaining 5, they had no choice but to release the news and publicly gather these 5 precious materials. As long as it was a powerful existence, they would be able to guess that Dongbua Shuiying was planning to refine a Sunstar nucleus stone. But Dongbua Shuiying wasn't afraid. With his strength, he wasn't afraid of anyone snatching it. He even directly announced that he was going to the Sunstar to cultivate, and needed a Sunstar nucleus stone. But who was willing to exchange for it? The news was released. As expected, no one was willing to exchange for the Sunstar nucleus stone. But the 5 precious materials were gradually being gathered. There were powerful existences who came and straightforwardly said, "This 5-colored phoenix bloodstone is a gift to Monarch. It's just a toy." The value of precious materials was limited. Even if others said they didn't care, Dongbua Shuiying still offered items of equivalent value to exchange for it. Otherwise, if he took away someone else's treasure without giving anything, his reputation would be ruined. In the future, who would dare to exchange for it? When Dongbua Shuiying was weak, it was tough for him to gather demon bone ash. But now, he was able to gather rarer precious materials much faster. This was the difference in status. Now that he was stronger and had a higher status, powerful existences were all willing to trade with him. They didn't care about those precious materials, they cared about getting closer to him. After all, if they were more familiar with each other, it would be easier for them to ask Dongbua Shuiying for help in the future. Time passed. Paragon Huachang went to the Sunstar for a month before returning. He brought back a total of 10 million kilograms of void black soil. As for Dongbua Shuiying, he had a headache collecting 12 precious materials. He had only collected 10, and there were still 2 that he had no news about. The second chapter was over. Continue writing the third chapter. Chapter 620. Within the underground hall, on an ice-blue carpet, Dongbua Shuiying was sitting cross-legged, deep in thought. There were 3 major problems in condensing the Sunstar nucleus stone. Gathering the 12 materials was ranked second, and the difficulty was even higher than gathering the void black soil. This was because half of the materials were extremely rare. Although their usage was limited, their value was not high. But they were extremely rare. It was not easy to gather them. Currently, he was still lacking 2. The news has long been spread to the various powerful existences. Those who have the materials and are willing to trade have already done so. Those who are unwilling would probably be useless no matter how long they wait. Dongbua Shuiying frowned. Now, I can only hope that someone among the countless world deities will obtain these 2 materials. There were many world deities scattered throughout the deity world and abyss. The possibility of them obtaining precious materials under fortuitous encounters was actually higher than that of almighty beings. Dongbua Shuiying had already spread the news that he wanted to gather 2 materials: 7-leaf stone fruit and jade heart grass root. Although Dongbua Shuiying was vexed, he could only put it aside. There's no other way. I'll just take it slow. If he couldn't gather them in a year, he would spend 10 years or 100 years. Or even 10,000 years or 1,000,000 years. There would definitely be a day when he could gather them all. Let me start investigating these treasures. Shuiying began researching through the gifts given by the guests during this prefecture opening banquet. He checked through them one by one. Those from world deities, ordinary true gods, and even those from Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Paragon Huachang and Monarch Green. The stronger one is, the more precious the gift. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. The guests had their own standards and knew what level of gift they should give. This was a common practice in the deity world and abyss. Of course there were exceptions. For example, old ancestor Golden Firmament's gift was very shabby, but it was already not bad for him to be able to give a gift. Only the gifts from the 3 paragons and 5th master uncle are special, Dongbua Shuiying thought. This is from Big Brother Huacheng. Dongbua Shuiying waved his hand, and a wine flask appeared in front of him. It was tightly sealed, and the moment it was opened, a fragrance could be smelled. Boom! A formless energy rushed into his true deity heart, and Dongbua Shuiying could not help but shudder. Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine? Dongbua Shuiying immediately understood what kind of treasure this was. The Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine was specifically used to aid one's cultivation. Just a whiff of it would cause one's deity heart to tremble, and if one drank a mouthful of it, one's true deity heart would be stimulated to its full potential. In fact, one might even fall into a half-conscious, half-intoxicated state. But it was precisely this unique state that allowed one to cultivate and comprehend the Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine. A cup of Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine was already very precious, but this pot was even more valuable. Big Brother Huacheng is really considerate. Dongbua Shuiying understood that such a supplementary item would be of great help to transcend. Dongbua Shuiying kept the flask of Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine and took out a round plate. There were patterns on the plate and it was exceptionally beautiful. However, after observing it for a while, Dongbua Shuiying could tell, it's a formation plate. It's the core of a powerful array. Dongbua Shuiying said, looking at the appearance of the formation plate, it should be the core of an array left behind in some ancient ruins. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord actually managed to get it out. This mansion of mine has just been constructed, and it is indeed lacking a sufficiently powerful array. Imperial Lord Mansion was an array that he had comprehended himself, and it had a deterrent effect on Stage 4 experts. However, it didn't have any deterrent effect on existences of the same level. With this formation plate as the core, I'll set up some supplementary array formations. Dongbua Shuiying revealed a smile. The gift from Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord was something that he needed. Finally, Dongbua Shuiying flipped his hand, but it was empty. In reality, there was a palm-sized sculpture on his palm. It was just that it was invisible to the naked eye. If one used their consciousness to sense it, they would be able to sense that the palm-sized sculpture was in the form of a human sitting cross-legged. Qingyao is a disciple of Big Brother Huacheng, so I'll give this treasure to Qingyao. Dongbua Shuiying nodded lightly. This was a unique treasure that could be used by the true deity heart. One must know that even Dongbua Shuiying and Jingqiu didn't have a treasure that could be used by the true deity heart. However, given the strength of their deity hearts, this unique treasure was useless. The weaker one was, the more obvious the help it would provide. In terms of value, the Fire Dragon Blood Fruit Wine was comparable to the sculpture, while the formation plate was slightly inferior. This is the most precious. Dongbua Shuiying kept the other items and took out the black feather. The black feather that Martial Uncle Blackbird gave Dongbua Shuiying had indeed shocked him. From this feather, he could tell that Martial Uncle Blackbird's body was much stronger than his Extreme Annihilation mysterious body. The difference was ridiculously huge. Dongbua Shuiying estimated that even rulers would find it hard to kill Martial Uncle Blackbird. Hua! Dongbua Shuiying lowered his head and looked at it. As his gaze penetrated through, the black feather continued to grow bigger and bigger in his vision, turning into a vast continent. The entire continent was made up of countless black tubes. The combination of these countless tubes was simply too mystical. It was precisely because of this combination that the continent was incomparably stable. In other words, the feather was extremely powerful. The degree of its power far surpassed the Extreme Annihilation mysterious body armor. Is there a void tunnel inside each of these tubes, leading to an unknown place? Dongbua Shuiying silently thought. The profoundness within the tubes was not any weaker than the entire black feather continent. It was just that the profoundness within the tubes was too blurry for Dongbua Shuiying to see. Even the flow of the patterns was a blur. I keep feeling that this void passage is impossible to resist. Dongbua Shuiying thought. This was an instinct. Just like how a mouse would feel fear when it meets a cat. This was a biological instinct. When Dongbua Shuiying saw the void passage within the tubes, he felt that no restrictions would be able to suppress this void passage. Through the void passage, one could easily reach a certain place. The profoundness of the void passage was comparable to the talisman that he had obtained. Every single tube contained such a terrifying void passage. Billions of tubes formed the entire Black Feather continent. Dongbua Shui-ing was shocked by its composition. If the composition of his body could be so mystical, he would at least be comparable to a ruler. I wonder where Senior Uncle Blackbird came from. He isn't on the Cosmos Deity Demon list. Dongbua Shui-ing pondered for a moment before disregarding it. He was completely immersed in the composition of the Black Feather continent. The void passage was too blurry and hard to comprehend. But the Black Feather continent was extremely clear. It even had some similarities with some of the world's profound mysteries that he had comprehended. It was just that it was many times more profound. This made Dongbua Shui-ing vaguely understand that this might be his teacher's motive. Using this, he could deepen his comprehension of the world. That way, he would be able to encompass all deity hearts and transcend. Time passed. Dongbua Yu stayed in the monarch residence for over 300 years. Under the guidance of his parents, he was finally bestowed with Monarch Green's sculpted gift and left alone. Dongbua Shui-ing could only understand his son's movements through the Bloodshed Tavern's intelligence. Dongbua Qingyao cultivated diligently under Paragon Huachang. This caused Paragon Huachang to frequently praise Dongbua Shui-ing whenever he saw him. In the blink of an eye, it had been 16,000 years since the establishment of the Dongbua monarch residence. Who? Black Fog Sea Continent. A figure appeared within the time-space teleportation array. It was a green-robed, silver-haired woman. The green-robed, silver-haired woman looked at the majestic monarch residence. Her eyes were filled with desire. I have finally arrived at the Dongbua monarch residence. Very soon. She arrived at the main entrance of the residence. The aura emitted by the words Dongbua on the main entrance caused her to tremble slightly. The aura was vigorous like that of an ancient beast. It was as though it could destroy the heavens and earth with just a trace of its might. Even powerful existences would be instantly killed. As expected of the legendary monarch Dongbua, to be able to enter the dark abyss alone, and even kill a powerful existence of the dark abyss while fighting one against three. The green-robed, silver-haired woman thought to herself. However, she did not know that the monarch Dongbua monarch residence's protection array had already changed. It used the array plate given by Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master as its core. It was supplemented by many other arrays to form the final array. Its power was extremely strong. Even an existence on the same level as Dongbua Shui-ing would not dare to behave atrociously here. This is the monarch residence. What are you doing here? One of the world deity guards at the entrance of the residence berated her. Monarch is collecting precious materials. I have a precious material to offer. Please pass on the message. The green-robed, silver-haired woman bowed respectfully. Precious material? The two world deity guards at the entrance, as well as the other guards, were shocked. They knew that their monarch had always been collecting precious materials. Wait here. I will pass on the message. That world deity guard did not dare to delay and immediately went to report. Star. Chapter 621. The green-robed, silver-haired lady waited silently outside the door. After a while, the world deity guard rushed over and said, "The Emperor has summoned you. Follow me quickly." The green-robed, silver-haired lady took a deep breath and entered the mansion. They flew into the mansion and came to a garden specially used to welcome guests. Reporting to the Emperor, "The person is here." The world deity guard said respectfully. The azure-robed, silver-haired woman also saw a black-robed man standing in the distance, looking at the flowers and plants in the distance. The black-robed man turned around and looked at her. The lines of his face were clear, and his eyes were gentle, but the invisible aura he exuded made her feel fear from the bottom of her heart. Dongbua Shui-ying's aura was too strong for her. Junior Chun Yu greets the Emperor. The green-robed, silver-haired lady bowed respectfully. Shui-ying first glanced at the world deity protector. The world deity protector immediately bowed and left. "You said you have the precious materials I need?" Dongbua Shui-ying asked. "Yes," the green-robed, silver-haired lady said. "I just heard that the Emperor wants the jade heart grassroot and the 7-leaf stone fruit. Hence I rushed over." Dongbua Shui-ying sighed. It had been 16,000 years since he released the news, and this stage 2 world deity had just heard about it. It was obvious that news spread much slower among world deities. This was also related to this lady's low strength. Some of the stronger stage 4 world deities probably knew about it. What kind of precious material do you have? Dongbu Shuiying asked. Jade heart grass root. The green-robed, silver-haired woman stretched out her hand, and a plant that glowed with a dark green light appeared in her hand. The plant's roots were very long, and each root was curved like a dragon or snake. There were even illusory green dragons swimming around the roots. Shuiying revealed a grin. Very good. After obtaining the root of the jade heartgrass from the 12 types of precious materials, there was only one left. Speak, what do you want? Dongbu Shuiying asked. Divine crystal? Treasure? Or something else? The green-robed silver-haired lady raised her head and looked at Dongbu Shuiying. Her eyes filled with desire. I want the Imperial Emperor to help me kill an enemy. Kill my enemies? Dongbu Shuiying was taken aback. I don't need anything else. I just want you to help me kill my enemy. After we kill the enemy, we will offer the jade heartgrass to the Celestial Emperor, the green-robed silver-haired woman said. She also believed that with Dongbu Shuiying's status, he would not do something like snatching. Shuiying asked, this enemy of yours, what is his identity? What kind of strength? Tell me the details. The green-robed silver-haired girl said in a low voice, I came from a desolate place outside the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. My enemy is called World Deity Moba, and he was originally a demon from the Dark Abyss. He later came to the deity world and stayed there. He had the strength of a stage 3 world deity. He should be able to rank at the top of the third heaven. He is extremely bloodthirsty and ruthless. He has killed countless people, and many of my loved ones and clansmen have been massacred by him. I was fortunate to cultivate outside and escape from this calamity. I only hope that the Imperial Emperor can kill him. A stage 3 world deity. Dongbu Shuiying lightly nodded. He understood many world deities, but he did not know of this world deity Moba. He is a demon, and the reason why he could take root in the deity world is because he relied on the Devil Dragon King. The green-robed silver-haired girl respectfully said, the Devil Dragon King is a powerful existence, and world deity Moba is a valiant general under him. He is quite favored by the Devil Dragon King. Which Devil Dragon King is a subordinate? Dongbu Shuiying lightly nodded. This Devil Dragon loves killing the most. It is no wonder that he would accept a demon as his subordinate. The Dark Abyss repelled experts from the deity world. The moment they entered, they would be surrounded and attacked by experts led by the will of the Dark Abyss. But the deity world was different. The deity world was inclusive, and no matter which superpower experts entered the deity world, they would not be rejected. Thus, within the deity world, there were still some experts from the Dark Abyss. For example, there were experts from the Dark Abyss who chased after Monarch Emoshue previously. Alright, I understand. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. The green-robed silver-haired girl was startled. What did he mean by understand? Did he agree to kill him or not? Or did he intend to snatch it by force? This monarch Dongbu was the personal disciple of God Emperor. With such a great reputation, he should not be so despicable, right? Let me check first and understand a thing or two. Then I will give you an answer. Dongbu Shuiying smiled. Come, have a cup of tea first. The maid who was waiting not far away immediately went forward to help pour the tea. Dongbu Shuiying also sat down and picked up a cup of tea. At the same time, he started to understand the detailed information through the Bloodshed Tavern system. Very soon he received the news. The Devil Dragon King resided in the Devil Dragon Ridge. Legend has it that there was an army in the Devil Dragon Ridge that was commanded by the Devil Dragon King. In the army, there was a general called Universe Deity Moba. As Universe Deity Moba was a demon, he was extremely warlike and ruthless, and was loved by the Devil Dragon King. One of his doppelgangers actually stayed in the Devil Dragon Ridge for a long period of time. Dongbu Shuiying frowned slightly. That was troublesome. If he wanted to kill, he would naturally kill both his original body and doppelgangers. Looking at Universe Deity Moba's information, he deserved to be killed. However, there was a doppelganger in the Devil Dragon King's lair? Devil Dragon King. Dongbu Shuiying muttered softly. Although his voice was soft, the green-robed silver-haired girl who was holding a cup of tea also looked towards Dongbu Shuiying carefully. Wang. The moment Dongbu Shuiying muttered the Devil Dragon King's name, an extremely minute karma was formed between him and the Devil Dragon King. Through this karma line, Dongbu Shuiying's consciousness quickly extended over. It passed through the obstruction of space and arrived at a rather desolate starfield in the divine world. In this desolate starfield, there was a continuous mountain range. This continuous mountain range that spanned trillions of miles was the Devil Dragon Ridge. The Devil Dragon King had been operating there for a very long time, and ordinary almighties would definitely not dare to trespass. The Devil Dragon King's huge body was sitting on the peak of a mountain. In front of him were plates of delicacies, and he would occasionally lower his head to eat a plate. Even though he had become an almighty, he did not change his love for delicacies. The Devil Dragon King suddenly raised his head and looked in front of him. Wang! A blurry figure suddenly appeared in midair. The figure was condensing, and it was a black-robed man standing in midair. He was looking at the Devil Dragon King calmly. Dongbu Shuiying? The Devil Dragon King immediately recognized him. This person in front of him was the famous Dongbu Shuiying. Even though he, the Devil Dragon King, was slightly weaker, he was still ranked 95th on the Cosmos Deity Demon list. Naturally, he knew of this Monarch Dongbu who was ranked 52nd. I wonder why Monarch Dongbu is looking for me? The Devil Dragon King lifted his head and asked. At the same time, his gaze swept around. Those subordinates that served the delicacies immediately retreated obediently. None of them dared to disturb him. On this mountain peak, only the Devil Dragon King and Dongbu Shuiying were left. Dongbu Shuiying was merely an incarnation that descended by relying on karma. It was just like how ordinary deities could use spatial imprints to project themselves in the material world. Even though Dongbu Shuiying and the Devil Dragon King were far apart, they were both within the divine world. Relying on the karma line to condense an incarnation here was indeed an easy task. I am here to see the Devil Dragon King for a matter, Dongbu Shuiying said. It was time. Chapter 622. Your Majesty, please speak. The Demon Dragon King was slightly cautious. Although he had no enmity with this Emperor Dongbo, they were not on the same side. Dongbu Shuiying stood in midair and looked at the Demon Dragon King. You have a subordinate called Emoba. Is he from the Dark Abyss? Yes. The Demon Dragon King nodded. Why? Your Majesty, why are you concerned about him? Shuiying nodded. I was originally prepared to kill him, but knowing that he is your subordinate, Devil Dragon King, if I didn't inform Devil Dragon King before killing him, I would be in the wrong. The Demon Dragon King's large eyes narrowed, and he laughed. Ha ha ha, Your Majesty, you are giving me face. It's just a demon, so I killed him. Your Majesty, there is no need to be so courteous. How about this? I will personally deal with Emoba. How about this? Thank you, Demon Dragon King. Dongbu Shuiying smiled. It's a small matter. The Demon Dragon King laughed. Dongbu Shuiying nodded and smiled. If Demon Dragon King is free, feel free to visit my residence. I will definitely accompany you for a few drinks. I will definitely visit when I am free. The Demon Dragon King replied. Dongbu Shuiying smiled, and his figure disappeared. Only the Demon Dragon King was left on the mountain peak. Only then did the Demon Dragon King's huge eyes turn cold, emitting a cold intent. He was an old man who had lived for countless years. How could he not understand Dongbu Shuiying's meaning? Dongbu Shuiying's words were very clear. I was prepared to kill him. It was obvious that he was filled with killing intent. If he forcefully rejected, he would offend this Emperor Dongbo. Since this Emperor Dongbo said this in advance, it was obvious that he had no intention of becoming enemies. For the sake of a Emoba, he was willing to fall out with Monarch Dongbo? The Demon Dragon King would not do such a thing no matter how stupid he was. Emoba, quickly come and see me, the Demon Dragon King ordered. Soon, south, a demon with two huge curved horns and black scales appeared. He knelt down respectfully and said, Greetings, Your Majesty. Universe deity Emoba was still very satisfied with his current life. He was originally living in the Dark Abyss. However, when one of his enemies heard that he had broken through to the stage for heaven, he was so frightened that he immediately fled. He escaped from the dark abyss to the divine world and sought refuge under the fierce demon dragon king. As expected, their temperaments were compatible. The demonic dragon king valued him greatly. How comfortable! Universe deity Emoba was delighted in his heart. In the deity world he could kill if he wanted to and enjoy if he wanted to. Behind him was a powerful existence. His days here were much better than in the dark abyss. Emoba, the demon dragon king said in a low voice, have you ever offended Monarch Dongbo? Monarch Dongbo. World deity Emoba was startled. Bloodshed God Palace's Monarch Dongbo? I've heard of him, but I don't have any dealings with him. I don't dare to offend Emperor Lord Dongbo either. The demon dragon king sighed inwardly. Who cares? Who cares how he offended him? Dongbo Shuang had personally met him to talk about this matter. Who? The demon dragon king waved his claw. The claw instantly pierced through the obstruction of space. World deity Emoba revealed a look of terror. He wanted to dodge, yet he discovered that the surrounding space had completely suppressed him. He could not move at all. He could only watch as the claw slapped onto his body. Why? World deity Emoba's heart was filled with terror and confusion. He faintly guessed that it might be related to offending Monarch Dongbo. But it was too late. Under the huge claw's attack, the space where world deity Emoba was at was like a piece of paper being shredded. It shattered into countless pieces before turning into nothingness. At the same time, in another luxurious palace, the other avatar of world deity Emoba, who was currently enjoying, was similarly attacked by karma and terror. The divine world was not the material world. There was no protection in the divine world. The demon dragon king, this old dragon, could be listed on the universe deity demon list. His attainments in karma were extremely profound. The power transmitted through karma caused world deity Emoba's avatar to instantly die. His body fell, but his true deity heart was already destroyed. At the level of a ruler, through karma, even an existence close to a paragon could be killed forcefully. Of course, it was a different story if one had the protection of the material world. In the material world, a ruler could only kill a stage 2 heaven with a thought. With the help of an oath, he could kill a stage 3 heaven. An ordinary almighty could only kill a stage 1 world deity through karma. But if it was in the divine world, the karma attack of the almighties was equally terrifying. In Monarch Dongbo's residence, the green-robed silver-haired lady held a teacup and took a sip. She looked at Dongbo Shuang, who was sitting nearby and drinking tea. She was anxious and nervous. I was too careless. I should have hidden the jade heartgrass first. When Monarch Dongbo kills my enemy, I will give it to him. I trusted Monarch Dongbo too much. I believed that with his status, he would not snatch it forcefully, but now, he did not even give me a reply. He should at least give me a reply. As long as he agrees, I believe that killing world deity Emoba won't be difficult. Could it be that he is afraid of Demon Dragon King? Oh right, world deity Emoba has an avatar that lives in Demon Dragon Ridge. Maybe it would be troublesome for Monarch Dongbo to kill a stage 3 world deity in Demon Dragon Ridge. The green-robed silver-haired lady was worried. After all, what she could do was too little. Alright. Dongbo Shuang, who was sitting opposite, suddenly spoke. The green-robed silver-haired lady's spirit rose. She looked at Dongbo Shuang. Was he going to give her a reply? World deity Emoba is dead. Dongbo Shuang said. Your request has been fulfilled. Dead? The green-robed silver-haired lady lowered her head and looked at the teacup in her hand. She had yet to finish the tea in the teacup. She had just made her request and world deity Emoba was dead? Look, Dongbo Shuang pointed at the sky beside him. The space in the sky was distorted. From a distance, it was transmitted to a luxurious palace far away. The luxurious palace was in a state of panic. The master of the palace, world deity Emoba, was lying on the ground without any signs of life. This is Emoba's demon palace? The green-robed silver-haired lady looked at the scene in shock. This is one of his avatars. His original body is dead and his avatar was destroyed through karma. Hence, his body is intact but his divine heart is destroyed. Dongbo Shuang explained. The moment Emoba died, Dongbua Shuang determined that he was dead through karma. The green-robed silver-haired lady looked at the body of world deity Emoba, who used to be ferocious and overbearing, lying there without moving. She felt complicated. At that moment she had almost no more doubts. Emperor Dongbua didn't need to fake such a scene. He had no choice but to snatch it from her directly. "Thank you, Emperor." The green-robed silver-haired lady offered the jade heart grass. Dongbua Shuang smiled and accepted it. Although the green-robed silver-haired lady believed him, she still sent her original body to the temporal palace to purchase information. The temporal palace replied, "World deity Emoba's original body and avatar were destroyed. The death of his original body is suspected to be related to the demon dragon king. His avatar was destroyed through karma." This result shocked the green-robed silver-haired lady. Could it be the demon dragon king? She felt slightly startled. An existence like Monarch Dongbo was indeed formidable. She went to ask him for a favor, yet before she could even finish drinking a cup of tea, Monarch Dongbo was still sitting in front of her, and world deity Emoba died. Dongbua Shuang only lacked the last precious material, the seven-leaf stone fruit. It was useless for him to be anxious. He could only wait in silence. He hoped that a universe deity would send the treasure over after receiving the news. To Dongbua Shuang, he wasn't afraid of the universe deities raising any conditions. After all, he could satisfy all the conditions of the precious material. It wasn't to the extent that anyone would be so arrogant to the point of wanting to learn an absolute art, just for a precious material. Dongbua Shuang would chase him out immediately. Time passed. 60,000 years after the establishment of the mansion, the last of the precious materials had finally arrived. "I have the precious material that the emperor needs. Please inform him." A handsome young man stood at the entrance of the Emperor Dongbua mansion. Second update. Chapter 623. After a short while, Dongbua Shuang, who knew that there was hope for the last piece of precious material, saw the young man. World God in the first heaven? Dongbua Shuang was shocked. This time around his strength was even lower. "Greetings, Emperor Dongbua." The handsome young man stood there respectfully. "I heard that the emperor needed the seven-leaf stone fruit, so I rushed over. Finally I made it here alive." Dongbua Shuang was stunned. Made it here alive? That's right, the handsome young man was too weak. He was only at the first heaven. If he had rushed over from a secluded place, it would have been dangerous. "You have the seven-leaf stone fruit?" Dongbua Shuang asked. "Yes." The handsome young man's eyes lit up and he nodded. "I got it by luck. However, because the journey was dangerous, the seven-leaf stone fruit is with my main body." Dongbua Shuang smiled and nodded. "Speak, what request do you have? Divine crystal? Treasure? Or something else?" The handsome young man said respectfully, "I don't need any treasure. I hope to be a disciple of the emperor and receive pointers. Without pointers, I'm afraid that becoming a world god in the second heaven will be the end of my life." Disciple? Dongbua Shuang was slightly shocked. Then he came to a realization. To an ordinary world god in the first heaven, what they desired the most was to find a powerful teacher. It would be best if the teacher was an expert. "I have only cultivated for a short period of time and there are many things to do. I'm afraid I won't have enough time to teach you." The moment Dongbua Shuang said that, the handsome young man's face turned pale. Dongbua Shuang continued, "But I can introduce you to a better teacher than me." Then Dongbua Shuang transmitted a message to Chihua Laozu. Chihua Laozu had been staying in the mansion for the past few years. After he received the message from Dongbua Shuang, he knew that the last piece of precious material was with the young man. Naturally, he rushed over without hesitation. Whoosh! Chihua Laozu arrived at the garden. Dongbua Shuang pointed at Chihua Laozu and said, "Kid, this is the transcendent almighty being Chihua Laozu. Almighties controlled the complete rules of heaven and earth. But no matter what, I have never transcended. He is much more suitable to teach disciples than I am." The handsome young man's eyes lit up. Becoming a disciple of a powerful being? That's great too. Although Emperor Dongbo was extremely famous and powerful, The Empyrean Emperor Dongbo's strength was not to be underestimated. But what he said made sense. After all, Emperor Dongbo was only a universe god of the fourth heaven. In terms of teaching disciples, he might not be as good as the almighty Chihua Laozu. Old ancestor, he has only cultivated for 30 million years. He can be considered as a promising talent. Dongbo Shuiying said. Not bad. Chihua Laozu smiled and nodded. Kid, what's your name? My name is Qiqiong. The handsome young man said. Qiqiong, I shall accept you as my disciple. You stay here for now. I'll go to your place to retrieve the 7-leaf stone fruit. Chihua Laozu said before leaving. He had formed a karmic connection with this young man. Through this karmic connection, he would naturally know where the other party's true body was. The handsome young man hurriedly said, Master, my true body is at... Before he could finish, Chihua Laozu had already disappeared. The handsome young man looked at Dongbo Shuiying with a puzzled expression. Emperor, my master knows where I am? He knows. Dongbo Shuiying smiled and nodded. An hour later, Chihua Laozu returned with the 7-leaf stone fruit. Good. Everything is ready. Only the final step is left. Dongbo Shuiying received the 7-leaf stone fruit and revealed a smile. Old ancestor, you are a good disciple. I'll be heading out for a while. Controlling the Starfield flying ship, Dongbo Shuiying left the Black Fog Sea and headed towards Ripple Lady Planet Lord's residence. Who? Standing at the bow of the Starfield flying ship, looking at the colorful spatial passageway, Dongbo Shuiying contacted Paragon Huacheng. Paragon Huacheng had long returned to his residence. Even Dongbo and Qing Yao had been brought by him to be guided in their cultivation. Big brother Huacheng. Dongbo Shuiying transmitted, I'm heading out now to visit Ripple Lady Planet Lord. From what I know, Ripple Lady Planet Lord is focused on forging artifacts and rarely goes out. She is also very cold to other cultivators. I'm going to ask her for help. I wonder if Big Brother Huacheng has any good ideas? That will be troublesome. The star she resides in was personally arranged by Empress Qianhe. There are many important places for forging artifacts. However, it also makes that star extremely dangerous. Even the apex paragons don't dare to barge in. Paragon Huacheng said, we can't use force. We can only go along with her character. I'm afraid that she might not even want to meet us. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. This was indeed a difficult problem. According to the intelligence, there were some powerful existences that went to visit Ripple Lady Planet Lord, but they couldn't even meet her face. This Ripple Lady Star Master was famous for her indifference. She was not only indifferent to ordinary powerful existences. She wasn't just cold towards ordinary powerful existences. Even the powerful paragons treated her coldly. Perhaps only rulers with their heaven-defying strength could make her feel fear. She didn't dare to be negligent. With her character like this, she was instead doted on by Empress Qianhe. Currently, Dongbo Shuiying's attainments in spacetime were extremely deep. Controlling the Starfield flying ship, he merely took the time to brew a cup of tea to reach a desolate area in the deity world. In the void there was a faint black star. There were no other stars in the vast area. This black star caused the surrounding void to seem to freeze. Boundless cold air spread out, covering an area of 1 trillion miles. Sela within the spacetime tunnel, the Starfield flying ship flew out. A black-robed Dongbo Shuiying stood on the Starfield flying ship, looking at the distant cold black star. Ripple Lady Star? Dongbo Shuiying understood. This was the residence of Ripple Lady Planet Lord, who was the most proficient in smithing amongst the paragons. Keeping the flying ship, Dongbo Shuiying stepped on the void and tore through the void, rapidly approaching that Ripple Lady Star. South, when he neared the Ripple Lady Star, waves of water rippled in the surroundings. The void water ripples spread out, causing even Dongbo Shuiying to feel a faint threat. However, he didn't resist. He just allowed the void water ripples to spread past his body. Within the void water ripples, a white-robed elder appeared. The white-robed elder looked at Dongbo Shuiying and smiled. This is the Ripple Lady Star. My master doesn't meet guests easily. I'll have to trouble you to report that Dongbo Shuiying is here to see you, Shuiying said. Please wait here. Don't advance any further. If you advance any further and get killed by the array, don't blame me for not reminding you." The white-robed elder smiled and disappeared. Dongbu Shuang understood that the white-robed elder wasn't a true life form. He was merely an artifact spirit or an array spirit. Looking at the void water ripples around the Ripple Lady's star, he couldn't help but sigh. Empress Qian, he really likes her. I heard that she had set up many arrays on this star. Just this array alone might not be able to break my armor, but it could easily imprison me. Even peak paragons didn't dare to barge in. One could see how powerful this Ripple Lady star was. On the Ripple Lady star, a snow-white-robed lady was lying on a huge leaf. She held a book in her hands and was reading the array on the book. Beside her, there were two maids serving her. Hua! The white-robed elder appeared at the side and bowed respectfully. "Master, there's a guest who wishes to meet you." "Who?" The snow-white-robed lady raised her eyebrows. Her eyes were gentle. "He said that his name is Dongbu Shuang," the white-robed elder said. As an array spirit, he indeed didn't know who Dongbu Shuang was. "Dongbu Shuang?" The snow-white-robed lady frowned. "That's the personal disciple of Bloodblade. I heard that Empress, Temporal Island Lord and Myriad God Palace Head joined hands to deal with Bloodblade and Ruler Nile. One of Ruler Nile's avatars died in battle, and Bloodblade fled pathetically. This caused him to be extremely furious. He, a disciple of Bloodblade, actually wants to meet me? Third. Chapter 624. A female attendant by the side said, "Master, I've heard that Dongbu Shuang has collected many precious materials, and I've also heard that he wants a Sunstar Nucleus Stone. Now that he has come to visit Master, it should be because he has collected all the precious materials and is asking Master to help him refine a Sunstar Nucleus Stone." Ripple Lady Planet Master nodded and looked outside. Her gaze pierced through space and saw the black-robed man in the void outside the star. "Dongbu Shuang?" Ripple Lady Planet Master pondered. The fastest genius to become a Stage 3 world deity in the history of the deity world and abyss. "Bring him in." "Yes," the white-robed old man said respectfully. Ripple Lady Planet Master had not told her subordinates that this Dongbu Shuang was one of the two members of the Army of Destruction. Ripple Lady Planet Master felt that such a person should not be unable to transcend and was worth meeting. In the void. "Please follow me. Do not wander around." The white-robed old man led. All right. Dongbu Shuang followed behind and soon descended on this star. This gloomy and cold star was too desolate. In the distance one could see a deep blue flame burning. One could also see a region shrouded in mist, and there were also black liquid lakes. These strange regions were mostly important places that the Ripple Lady Planet Master used to refine artifacts. Many of them were personally arranged by Empress Qian He. Danger lurked everywhere. There was a building complex that occupied an area of 5,000 kilometers. For a paragon to live in such a small area was indeed too small. There were some deities and world deities living here, obeying Ripple Lady Planet Master's orders. This way. The white-robed old man continued to lead. Finally, Dongbu Shuang saw a snow-white-robed woman lying on a huge soft leaf. She was barefooted and reading a book. Beside her were two beautiful maids. "Greetings, Ripple Lady Planet Master." Dongbu Shuang naturally recognized her. "Dongbu Shuang?" Ripple Lady Planet Master raised her head and glanced. "Don't you know that Empress Qian He, Myriad God Palace Master and Temporal Island Master joined hands to fight against Ruler Nile and your teacher Bloodblade? Your teacher and the rest suffered a great loss. Although hundreds of thousands of years had passed. To hegemons, however, it was true that they had just fought." Dongbu Shuang was taken aback. He really didn't know that Empress Qian He had supported his revered Master Bloodblade during the Myriad Flower Feast. Humph, you really don't know." Ripple Lady Planet Master continued. "You came to see me for the Sunstar Nucleus Stone?" Dongbu Shuang nodded straightforwardly. "That's right. I've prepared the void black soil and the 12 supplementary materials. I hope that Star-Lord can help me condense a Sunstar core stone from the soil. 1/2 kilogram is enough." "Star-Lord, feel free to state your conditions." Ripple Lady Planet Master looked at him. The refinement and extraction process is extremely complicated. Do you think I will agree? What do you have that's worth me mentioning? Dongbu Shuiying's expression remained unchanged. No matter what, I have to try. If there's no other way, I can only turn around and leave. A 1 kilogram Sunstar core stone? Ripple Lady Planet Master said softly. It's not impossible for me to help, but you have to agree to 3 of my conditions. Please speak. Dongbu Shuiying said. The other party could raise as many requests as she wanted, but whether or not he would agree was still up to him. 1. Let my disciple learn the first half of your blood demon scripture. Ripple Lady Planet Master said. Absolute arts were extremely rare, and although she had become a paragon, she did not have the original copy. That's not difficult, Dongbu Shuiying said. 2. Ripple Lady Planet Master waved her hand, and a gray light flew towards Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying grabbed it, and in his hand was a tattered cloth scroll. This is an incomplete array, Ripple Lady Planet Master said. I've heard that you're very proficient in the profound mysteries of the world. I hope that you can help me repair this array. As for time, there's no rush. Stage 4 world deities have a lifespan of 10 billion years. Then I'll give you 10 billion years. Help me repair this array within 10 billion years. If you're unable to repair it, then you can return the Sunstar Nucleus Stone to me. Hearing the 10 billion year deadline, Dongbu Shuiying relaxed. But if he failed, then he would have to return the Sunstar Nucleus Stone to Ripple Lady Planet Master? Dongbu Shuiying immediately lowered his head to look at the tattered cloth scroll in his hand. There was an incomplete array drawn on the cloth scroll. As he looked at the array and immersed himself in it, Dongbu Shuiying felt his vision turning blurry and illusory. Gradually, he seemed to have entered a vast world. This world was mostly complete. There were still parts that were incomplete. The sky was collapsing, turning into a gray fog. This incomplete world was filled with raging flames. It was overbearing and fierce, and even gave Dongbu Shuiying a feeling that it was above that of Paragon Huacheng. This incomplete array was obtained from the ruins? Dongbu Shuiying asked. It was bestowed by the Empress. As for where it came from, I don't know. Ripple Lady Planet Master said. Do you agree to the second condition? Dongbu Shuiying asked. Then what about the third condition? The third condition? I haven't thought of it yet. Ripple Lady Planet Master said. How about this? For the third condition, you owe me a favor. Favor? Dongbu Shuiying hesitated. A favor could be big or small. Don't worry, I won't be too harsh. When the time comes, if I ask you to do something, if my request is too much, you can reject it. Ripple Lady Planet Master smiled. No need for an oath? Dongbu Shuiying asked. I believe you. Ripple Lady Planet Master said. From the information she had on Dongbu Shuiying, she had already deduced that he was a person who valued relationships and would keep his promises. He wasn't like those cunning demons in the dark abyss. And he wasn't like her empress who would turn hostile whenever she wanted. Dongbu Shuiying was someone who could be trusted. Ripple Lady Planet Master's last condition was just casually mentioned. If in the future, Dongbu Shuiying's strength was monstrous, then this condition would be worth it. If Dongbu Shuiying's strength wasn't enough, then it was as if she didn't say anything. 3 conditions, right? Dongbu Shuiying asked. As long as I agree, you'll help me condense the Sunstar Nucleus Stone. Ripple Lady Planet Master nodded. Dongbu Shuiying, I have to remind you, the refinement process is extremely complicated, and you can't be the slightest bit careless. Once you're careless, you'll fail. Therefore, you have to give me more void black soil, just 12 million genes of void black soil. The entire refinement process will take at least 500,000 years. When the time comes, I'll let you know. All right. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. I agree to your 3 conditions. Then it's a deal. It's a deal. Ripple Lady Planet Master smiled. She felt that this young Dongbu Shuiying, who was also a member of the Army of Destruction like Peng Yi, was worth her effort. Both sides came to an agreement. Dongbu Shuiying left behind 12 million genes of void black soil and 12 precious materials, then left the Ripple Lady Planet with the tattered cloth scroll. Standing at the head of the starry sky flying ship, traversing through the time-space tunnel, Dongbu Shuiying was in an extremely good mood. After spending 60,000 years, he still had to repair that broken ancient array, as well as the promise of favors and so on. Finally, everything was settled. Dongbo Shuiying revealed a smile. In order to repay Chihua Laozu's kindness back then, he didn't hesitate to do all of this. I was lucky to be able to succeed. Ripple Lady Planet Master agreed to help me. Although the conditions are not small, it's still rare. Dongbo Shuiying smiled. Chapter 625. Time was heartless. To cultivators, time would polish them, allowing them to comprehend more profound laws, allowing them to comprehend stronger Daos, becoming stronger and stronger. But if they could not transcend, the flow of time would bring them closer to death. Jingqiu. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the light blue-robed figure standing by the lake. Although her back was facing him, Dongbo Shuiying could see the tears in his wife's eyes. Snow Eagle. The tears in Jingqiu's eyes instantly disappeared. She turned and squeezed out a smile at her husband. Tomorrow, father-in-law will only reincarnate. Didn't you awaken after you reincarnated? Maybe father-in-law is the same. Maybe the reincarnation experience caused his mental state to change, allowing him to transcend. Dongbo Shuiying consoled her. I know. But the chances of success in reincarnation are extremely low. Jingqiu looked at the lake, her eyes red. I am father's first daughter. He treated me like a treasure, taking care of me at all times. He didn't even trust his servants. I can clearly remember him coaxing me to sleep when I was young. I remember him feeding me, teaching me sword techniques. Even when he was old and close to death, he still went to Lake Heart Island to fight for me, and even obtained a true god weapon. Every time I see a true god weapon, I will think of father. In this world, there are only a few who truly love me and are willing to give up their lives for me. Jingqiu looked at Dongbo Shuiying. Other than you, Snow Eagle, there might only be my father left. And now father is choosing to reincarnate. Dongbo Shuiying held his wife's hand. You are also a cultivator. You should understand that we have already obtained a lot. Father-in-law has also obtained a lot. He should know how to be satisfied. I know. Jingqiu didn't say anything, but her mood was still rather gloomy. The second day, one by one they came, including Monarch Mo Shui's daughters and son-in-law, as well as some good friends. Of course his grandchildren came too. Father, grandfather, old ancestor. Dongbo Yu and Dongbo Qingyao also came. Now Dongbo Shuiying was even more reserved. There was a beautiful purple-robed woman by his side, and there were some young people following behind him. Some of these young people were calling Dongbo Shuiying patriarch. Dongbo Shuiying couldn't help but smile. He didn't expect that his son would be stuck at a bottleneck again, after going out to explore the world after experiencing a setback in his relationship. However, after 120,000 years, he met the purple-clothed woman, Palace Master Wan He. Palace Master Wan He was a universe god of the first heaven. After Dongbo Yu and Palace Master Wan He became husband and wife, his power increased tremendously. Within a single day he had comprehended 2 grade 1 deity hearts, the Extremity Deity Heart and the Chaos Deity Heart, becoming a stage 2 world deity. Even faster than his sister Dongbo and Qingyao. Dongbo Shuiying was shocked. Although his son had reached a bottleneck in these 2 deity hearts, he didn't expect to break through in a single day. After that, Dongbo Yu and Palace Master Wan He had a son and a daughter. After that, there was an endless number of descendants. And now it had been 510,000 years since Dongbo Shuiying established his residence. He finally had a large number of descendants. Ha ha ha, Qingyao, your big brother Hua Cheng's disciple. Don't lose to your brother. Dongbo Shuiying looked at his daughter and laughed. Don't worry. He only broke through because he has little sister Wan He. This credit belongs to little sister Wan He. Next, I, as his sister, will surpass him. Dongbo Qingyao and the purple-robed woman spoke at the same time. Dongbo Yu was very reserved. However, he was used to bickering with his sister. He couldn't help but reply, you should find a man. I'm afraid he'll surpass me in cultivation. Little sister Wan He, you should discipline your man. Look, he actually dares to expose his sister's scars. Dongbo Qingyao said. The purple-robed woman Wan He just smiled. She didn't say anything. Back then, she had met Dongbuoyu when she was roaming the deity world. The relationship between the two gradually deepened. At first, she had even concealed her aura to hide her identity as a world deity. Later on, when both of them were honest with each other, she discovered that her man's background was frightening. Snow Eagle. Eternal Wind. Dongbuo Shuiying also saw Qiqiu Bai and his wife walking over. You guys rushed back too? Dongbuo Shuiying laughed. Senior Mo Shui once gave me some pointers. How could I not return? Qiqiu Bai replied. Qiqiu Bai's talent was extremely high. Back when his soul was split into two, he was able to comprehend a grade 2 true meaning without the guidance of a powerful teacher. He also experienced the terrifying torture in the dark abyss. When the Howling Devil cult leader cultivated the blood demon scripture, many vengeful spirits stronger than him were eventually devoured. This terrifying torture was also a great tempering. When he could finally be with his true love, Qiqiu Bai's combat power began to rise by leaps and bounds. He rapidly became a deity with a grade 2 deity heart, then evolved with it. After his resurrection, he became a world deity 80,000 years later. He became a stage 2 world deity in just 350,000 years. Even though he was far from being comparable to Dongbuo Shuiying and was slightly weaker than some grade 1 true meaning transcendence, it was already an amazing feat. Forefather Fierce Tyrant came knocking on his door and requested to be accepted as a disciple. Dongbuo Shuiying also supported him from the side. Qiqiu Bai did not hesitate and became Forefather Fierce Tyrant's personal disciple. Forefather Fierce Tyrant was overjoyed. He said, Eternal Wind, cultivate well. If you need any treasures or secret techniques, just tell me. Dongbuo Shuiying was very happy about this. Qiqiu Bai, after experiencing so many trials and tribulations, was finally starting to shine. It was just that whether or not he could become a stage 4 world deity was still hard to say. Transcending would be even more difficult. Guests arrived one after another. They all had some relationship with Monarch Mo Shui, and some were even Monarch Mo Shui's old subordinates. Hundreds of people were bustling with activity. Finally, Monarch Mo Shui walked out. He was still dressed in a thick black robe. His white hair and beard were not messy at all. Looking at this large group of friends who had gathered to send him off, Monarch Mo Shui revealed a smile. He said in a clear voice, Everyone. Everyone quietened down and looked at him. Thank you everyone for coming to send me off. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. I, Mo Shui, have risen from humble beginnings. Killing and fighting my way up, I've established a country in the deity world. The 7 daughters I've taught have all become world deities. Jingqiu, 7th Meiyu, and the other daughters all looked at their father. Even though his later daughters were not as pampered as his eldest daughter, Monarch Mo Shui had indeed spent a lot of effort on them. Otherwise, how could they all become world deities? I've experienced too much and obtained too much. I've long since been satisfied. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. Unfortunately, I've sunk into the river of time. If I don't transcend, my true deity heart will eventually collapse. I've lived long enough, so it's time for me to leave. Of course, even if I leave, I'll still have to fight one last time before reincarnating. Alright, I won't say anything more to everyone. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. His body began to emit light as he began to decompose. His true deity heart also began to decompose. Jingqiu's hand, which was holding onto Dongbuo Shuiying's hand, suddenly tightened. Her body was trembling slightly. Dongbuo Shuiying watched silently. Even though his father-in-law had studied the blood demon scripture, he was still unable to stop this. He could only choose the last path with the slimmest hope: reincarnation. Wang. After the collapse of his true deity heart, the remaining bit of light finally disappeared. Dongbuo Shuiying could faintly see the incomparably vast laws of the universe taking away that bit of light. Monarch Mo Shui had already reincarnated. Perhaps, he had already entered the stomach of some motherly being. Good luck. Dongbuo Shuiying silently wished him well. Cultivators were originally like this. If they wanted to walk further, they would face even more tribulations. Only by breaking through layer upon layer of tribulations would they be able to obtain even more. There had never been anyone who could achieve great things so easily. After Monarch Mo Shui reincarnated 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 10,000 years, there was no more news of Monarch Mo Shui. Dongbu Shuiying and the rest also understood that Monarch Mo Shui's reincarnation had most likely failed. Jing Qiu, as a stage 4 world deity, had also experienced life and death parting. Under the accompaniment of Dongbu Shuiying, she also accepted everything. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was already 690,000 years after Dongbu Shuiying established his residence. It was also 180,000 years after Monarch Mo Shui reincarnated. Dongbu Shuiying, the Sun Star nucleus stone has been refined and condensed. A voice passed through karma, resounding in the ears of Dongbu Shuiying, who was in seclusion in search of transcendence. Today was only one chapter. It was the first day of the month. Relax a little. Smiley face star. Chapter 626. Finally done. Dongbu Shuiying left the Black Fog Sea alone, riding his stellar field-flying ship towards the Ripple Lady planet. Very soon, he arrived at the Ripple Lady planet. This time there were no obstructions. Under the guidance of the Array Spirit, the white-robed elder, Dongbu Shuiying met the Ripple Lady planet lord. The Ripple Lady planet lord was still dressed in a snow-white robe. She sat barefoot on the shore of the lake, her white feet casually kicking in the water. Her every movement was emitting a natural rhythm. Dongbu Shuiying sighed inwardly. This Ripple Lady planet lord had the most natural aura of a paragon he had ever seen. Water might seem ordinary, but it is extremely important in the entire universe. Without it, there would be no life. The Ripple Lady planet lord said, "The power of water is also an important power in the field of smithing. In terms of smithing, even if we include rulers, the planet lord is ranked in the top 3. Dongbu Shuiying said, "Compared to your master, I am still far from it. Bloodblade is indeed a genius of our universe epoch." Ripple Lady Planet Master stood up. Stepping on the grass, she slowly walked over. Dongbu Shuiying, you are also considered a genius. I thought that when I refined and condensed the Sun Star nucleus stone, you would have already transcended into a true god. Dongbu Shuiying shook his head. How can cultivation be so easy? I have only just comprehended all 9 grade 1 deity hearts. To truly fuse them into one and form the laws of heaven and earth, I am still lacking the final step. I believe that with your perception you will be able to do it very quickly. The Ripple Lady Planet Lord flipped her hand. A small black stone appeared in her palm. It was roughly the size of a fingernail and looked very ordinary. But Dongbu Shuiying's eyes lit up. He could feel that the laws of profound mysteries around the Sun Star nucleus stone had started to change. The power of water was being repelled, the surrounding temperature rose by a lot, and even space-time was being suppressed. A stone can change the laws? Dongbu Shuiying was slightly surprised. For you. The Ripple Lady Planet Lord threw it over. I have not been able to rest these past few years. I know Star Lord has worked hard. Dongbu Shuiying said as he received the Sun Star nucleus stone. The Sun Star nucleus stone was warm, but if he tried to sense it with his luminous sun force, he would discover that the Sun Star nucleus stone contained an incomparably terrifying power. The luminous sun force was incinerated into nothingness as soon as it entered. Although Dongbu Shuiying was shocked, he was not surprised. Although he had long since mastered the 4th revolution of the 4th volume of Luminous Sun, even the rulers who went to the deepest part of the Sun Star, the Sun Star core, would be instantly turned into nothingness. This fingernail-sized stone contained extremely little energy, but its quality was extremely high. It was reasonable for the luminous sun force to be easily incinerated. To be able to affect the surrounding laws, truly unimaginable. Dongbu Shuiying could vaguely sense that there was a huge secret behind the composition of this stone. However, he was unable to sense it at all. Every time he tried to sense it, it would be incinerated into nothingness. Naturally, there was no way to comprehend it. Dongbu Shuiying guessed that not even hegemons would be able to comprehend it. Don't forget what you promised me. Ripple Lady Planet Master smiled. Of course, Dongbu Shuiying said. A promise was worth its weight in gold. Also, other than my subordinates, no one else knows about the matter of me refining the Sun Star nucleus stone for you, Ripple Lady Planet Master said. My subordinates don't have the guts to leak the news either, so this matter should remain a secret. However, since you have been collecting precious materials wantonly, I reckon that many powerful existences of the deity world and dark abyss will have their guesses as well. Thanks, Dongbua Shuiying said. He was not afraid of threats, but Chihua Laozu was comparatively weaker. Then I shall take my leave first, Dongbua Shuiying said. I hope that the next time we meet you will have already transcended. Ripple Lady Planet Master said. I am waiting for the day you become a paragon. Otherwise, your favor will not be of much use to me. I also hope that your wish will come true. Dongbua Shuiying chuckled. Towards someone like Ripple Lady Planet Master as a paragon, and the #1 paragon in smithing, there were indeed many who would ask her for help. If he could not become a paragon, then his favor would be useless to her. After Dongbua Shuiying took the Sunstar Nucleus Stone, he quietly returned. Black Fog Sea. On the way back, Dongbua Shuiying had already sent a message to Chihua Laozu. Look, after returning to his residence, Dongbua Shuiying took out the Sunstar Nucleus Stone. Looking at this small black stone, he could see that the laws of heaven and earth around it were changing. Chihua Laozu's eyes instantly turned red, and his body started to tremble slightly. This Sunstar Nucleus Stone could affect the laws around it, greatly reducing the damage that flames could do to him. This allowed him to descend to the second layer of the Sunstar, the Sunstone layer. By descending to this layer, his chances of cultivation would increase greatly. In this lifetime, he might even be able to open up his own path and become a paragon. Without this stone, he could not see any hope. Without hope, no matter how long the days were, they would still be boring. This was also the reason why Chihua Laozu had shamelessly asked for Dongbua Shuiying's help, even though he knew that asking for Dongbua Shuiying's help might be a little overboard. And Dongbua Shuiying did not hesitate to do this for him. Snow Eagle, thank you, thank you. Chihua Laozu's voice was trembling slightly. Ancestor, why are you thanking me? Dongbua Shuiying laughed. I won't be giving this Sunstar Nucleus Stone to you for now. Chihua Laozu was stunned. Not giving. Although Chihua Laozu was anxious, he still asked, what do you intend to do? I don't have any other intentions. Dongbua Shuiying said, if I give it to you, you will immediately return to the Sunstar. Once you are noticed by some powerful existences, what do you think they will think? 600,000 years ago, I had been collecting precious materials without restraint. During these 600,000 years, you have been living here with me. Now you are returning to the Sunstar? Furthermore, if you were to guess how long Ripple Lady Planet Lord would need to refine and condense it, anyone with a bit of intelligence would be able to guess. Chihua Laozu felt a wave of fear. That's right. He had lived in the Black Fog Sea for 600,000 years. Why did he suddenly return? Connecting this to the Sunstar Nucleus Stone, it was indeed possible to guess. Continue living in the Black Fog Sea. Everything will be normal. Dongbua Shuiying said, isn't your main body at the Sunstar? I will personally make a trip to send the Sunstar Nucleus Stone over. Moreover, I intend to cultivate on the Sunstar. Firstly, if someone were to secretly investigate, they would think that I am using the Sunstar Nucleus Stone to cultivate. Secondly, if someone really wants to act, I can help you. Chihua Laozu felt that Dongbua Shuiying's considerations were very thorough. He hurriedly said, actually, the powerful existences probably won't believe that you will give the Sunstar Nucleus Stone to me. After all, it is simply too precious. I know you are anxious. I will head out tomorrow, Dongbua Shuiying said. After speaking to his wife, Dongbua Shuiying left the next day. It was a small matter for him to separate from his wife and children. This was because his family was in the Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world, and they could meet at any time. As a cultivator, he had to be cautious. In the material world, not even sovereigns could kill him. Naturally, he had to make good use of this opportunity. As time passed, if the Xia people's world were to collapse, he would have to leave. At that time, he would no longer have such perfect protection. Whoosh! Piloting the Starfield flying ship, Dongbua Shuiying stood at the prow of the ship and traversed through the spacetime tunnel. Although he was very familiar with the sun when he was a mortal, he had never actually entered the Sunstar. The Sunstar existed in a different spacetime. It was not on the same level as normal spacetime. In fact, it was not even on the same level as the river of time. It was located at the very core of the universe. There, its light could illuminate the entire universe. Chapter 627. Standing at the bow of the star-filled flying ship, Dongbu Shuang looked at the layers of spacetime in front of him. The sun star in front of him at the start emitted a warm light. But as he got closer, the temperature of the sunlight on his body rose rapidly. At the same time, the sun star became larger and larger in his field of vision. Finally, he completely passed through spacetime and arrived at the core of the universe. Dongbu Shuang narrowed his eyes as he looked at the incomparably huge sun star in front of him. From time to time, flames would shoot up into the sky from the sun star. It emitted a surging heat, and this heat brought with it the power of destruction and life. It penetrated through spacetime and was omnipresent. Even in the dark regions that were covered, the power of the sun star was still permeating through. At the same time, it was extremely powerful. The laws that caused Dongbu Shuang to feel suffocated were also surging out in all directions. The laws of the sun star? Dongbu Shuang had to admit that only when he faced the sun star up close would he realize that its laws might be on the same level as the material plane and the dark abyss. But the pressure it exuded was much stronger. The material plane was like a land filled with life. The dark abyss was like a barren desert. As for the sun star, it was like a meteorite formed from a huge continent. It brought with it a powerful offensive power that rampaged about. It is truly tyrannical and has the power of destruction that strikes fear in others. But amidst the destruction, there is also the power of life. Dongbu Shuang sighed. He kept the star-filled flying ship and flew towards the sun star at high speed. The sun star was not suitable for living. Those who cultivated here had to reach an extremely high level of strength. Ordinary stage for heavenly sovereigns would probably be incinerated into ashes the moment they stepped onto the sun star. Dongbu Shuang landed on the surface of the sun star. Although the surface of the sun star was blazing with flames, these flames had already liquefied. The entire surface of the sun star was like a sea. A sea formed from liquid flames. In this huge ocean there were even some waves. The waves would cause the flames to surge even more violently. Rumble. Dongbu Shuang looked into the distance. The glow of the flames was incomparably dazzling. The sea of flames beneath his feet was still considered calm. The water surface was squirming slowly, and there was a turbulent area in the distance. Snow Eagle. A figure flew over from afar. It was none other than Chihua Laozu's main body. Old ancestor. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Sorry for troubling you all the way here, said Chihua Laozu. It's nothing much. I've been in seclusion for a long time now, so it's about time for me to come out for a walk. Dongbu Shuang replied. Now that he had comprehended all 9 grade 1 deity hearts, the next step would be to perfectly fuse them into the laws of the heaven and earth. Cultivating in seclusion was not a good idea. Places like the extreme Yang star and the extreme Yin star were very suitable for cultivation. The laws here far surpassed the laws of the world. Just by comprehending a little, one might be able to make a breakthrough. This is a sun star nucleus stone. Dongbu Shuang tossed it over. Chihua Laozu took it, suppressed his excitement and said, "Let's go, I'll bring you in to take a look." Who? The two of them immediately dove into the sun ocean, flying towards its depths. A layer of luminous sun force covered Dongbu Shuang's body, allowing him to easily isolate the sun ocean. The sun star is a place filled with destruction. No living beings can be born here. Chihua Laozu said. Oh. Dongbu Shuang chuckled and didn't retort. Back then, his master Bloodblade had given him a large amount of information. Within the 5th layer of the sun star, the sun abyssal pond, there were 2 terrifying living beings. According to his master's description, strictly speaking, they couldn't be considered normal living beings. They were the incarnations of a portion of the sun star's laws, and they had the strength of a ruler. Up till now, they had never left the sun star before. Most of their time was spent in slumber within the sun abyssal pond, playing and occasionally entering the 4th layer, the void black soil layer. Only rulers could enter the void black soil layer. Even amongst paragons, only a few could enter. For example, Paragon Huachang and Monarch Green. Hence, the existence of these two terrifying living beings was indeed a secret. Most powerful existences wouldn't know about them. After flying for a long time, only then did Dongbu Shuiying and Shuiying descend to the bottom of the Sun Ocean, the outermost layer. Dongbu Shuiying looked downwards. He could clearly see the boundless thick stone layer. Hidden within the stone layer was an even more terrifying flame energy. Qihua Laozu descended on the stone layer and sat down cross-legged. The surface of his body affected the surrounding laws, and even formed a resonance with the laws of the entire sun star. The damage that the surrounding flames dealt to him was greatly reduced. Relying on the sun star nucleus stone, I can sit here, but I don't dare to go any deeper. Qihua Laozu laughed. Dongbu Shuiying descended as well. His feet landed on the stone layer. Be careful, Qihua Laozu warned. Dongbu Shuiying was extremely calm. The luminous sun force that he had used to protect his feet was pierced through by the traces of flames on the stone layer. Clearly, the luminous sun force was extremely young and unyielding, and wasn't suitable for defense. A layer of black armor naturally appeared on Dongbu Shuiying's body, easily blocking this layer of flames. What a joke! Dongbu Shuiying's extreme annihilation mysterious body armor was able to withstand an all-out attack from the White Sovereign King, and would only suffer some damage. Most apex paragons wouldn't dare to withstand an all-out attack from the White Sovereign King. One could see how tyrannical the defense of Dongbu Shuiying's body was as a member of the Army of Destruction. In terms of defense, he wasn't any weaker than an apex paragon. It is indeed different. Dongbu Shuiying stepped on it. He instantly felt the undulations of the sun attribute laws changing. Dong dong dong. An extremely intense impact caused Dongbu Shuiying's heartbeat to accelerate. The powerful and tyrannical laws and profound mysteries enveloped Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying carefully experienced it for a long time before opening his eyes. How is it? Shocking, right? Qihua Laozu chuckled. As long as you can grasp a strand of its might, you will be able to open your own Dao path. Grasping a portion of its might will allow you to fight against rulers. It is indeed amazing. Let me go deeper to take a look. Dongbu Shuiying said. Go deeper? Qihua Laozu was startled. By relying on the sun star nucleus stone, he was only at the surface of the second layer. Hua! The moment Dongbu Shuiying finished speaking, he had already forcefully penetrated through. His powerful strength forcefully pushed aside the obstruction of the stone layer as he went deeper. As he went deeper, the stone layer above him started to slowly heal. Dongbu Shuiying continued to fly deeper. Along the way, the stone layer was constantly being pierced through. Although the might of the flames within the stone layer was gradually increasing, it was still not a threat to the armor. In a desolate area of the deity world, in a desolate starry sky, there was a floating continent. On the continent there were countless black bamboos. The black bamboos emitted a coldness that caused one's heart to turn cold. Countless black bamboos covered 90% of the continent. In the center of the continent there was a chain of luxurious palaces. Within one of the palaces, the doors of the palace were closed. Within the palace, there was only a black-robed, skinny man sitting on the throne. His skin was also black and there were strange patterns on it. On his forehead there were even two protrusions. He was the bamboo saint of the two saints of the ink race. He was also the bamboo saint who had forcefully snatched Qihua Laozu's sun star nucleus stone. A voice suddenly resounded throughout the palace. Bamboo Saint. Ripple Lady Planet Lord refined a sun star nucleus stone and gave it to Dongbu Shuiying. Then Dongbu Shuiying went to the sun star and gave it to Qihua Laozu. The two of them are currently on the sun star. This voice was cold. Bamboo Saint's lips curled into a smile. Admirable, admirable. Your method of sensing the sun star nucleus stone is truly amazing. Humph. That cold voice snorted and no longer resounded. Bamboo Saint sat there cross-legged. Through karma he sensed. Indeed, on the sun star, Dongbu Shuiying and Qihua Laozu were both there. Dongbu Shuiying is here too? This is slightly troublesome. Even though this brat has cultivated for a short period of time, his ranking on the Cosmos Deity Demon list is slightly higher than mine. Bamboo Saint said, we have to wait. Wait for Dongbu Shuiying to leave before killing Qihua Laozu and snatching the sun star nucleus stone. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.